Suddenly, Yuziyu felt a sharp pain from the center of his forehead, accompanied by a loud ringing in his head, as if something had pierced into his glabella. In the next moment, a surge of immense energy erupted from the depths of his forehead. Boom! Another loud ring overwhelmed his eyes as wave after wave of ripples, like expanding circles, erupted from Yuziyu's crimson heavenly eye. At this point, if one were to look closely, they would notice 9 star-like lights twinkling deep within Yuziyu's eye, each resembling a distant star. These stars pulsed with an indescribable power, carrying immense oppression. Faintly, seemingly suppressed, and even the starlit sky where Yuziyu was dimmed slightly. This was Yuziyu's level 6 crimson heavenly eye, an eye capable of absorbing the spiritual energy of the stars, replenishing both Yuziyu and the 9 small worlds connected to him. More precisely, the crimson heavenly eye had become the medium through which spiritual energy flowed between Yuziyu and the 9 small worlds. This itself spoke volumes of how terrifying this ability was. It needed no further introduction. Just observing the starlight brewing within Yuziyu's crimson heavenly eye, with a vast starry sky faintly visible within it, was enough to demonstrate the terrifying power of this level 6 crimson heavenly eye. At the very least, it ensured that Yuziyu and the 9 small worlds, on a deeper level, were intertwined, living and breathing as one. In simpler terms, thanks to the newly awakened abilities of his crimson heavenly eye, Yuziyu's spiritual energy had increased several times over, enabling him to sustain longer and more intense battles. Satisfied, a wide grin spread across Yuziyu's face. As expected of the crimson heavenly eye, that bore the grand divine ability, 9 realms of heaven. Its newly awakened ability is beyond words. Now, Yuziyu could sense the spiritual energy circulating around his main body, flowing into the crimson heavenly eye, and from there, spreading into the 9 small worlds. Faintly, Yuziyu felt as though the 9 small worlds had become part of his very being. After circulating through the 9 small worlds, even purer spiritual energy flowed back through the crimson heavenly eye, causing the star-like twinkles within the eye to flicker brilliantly. Just from one glance, one could sense an aura of extraordinary power. So the 9 small worlds have now become my spiritual energy reservoirs. Chuckling, Yuziyu channeled the spiritual energy within him, activating his crimson heavenly eye. In a moment, an even clearer view of the starry sky reflected in his heavenly eye. Grinning, Behemoth responded with his usual simple and honest demeanor. Well, there is indeed nothing surprising about it. Within the entire Misty Mountain, Little Tenth's talent is ranked in the top 5. He's a dragon. Then, his bloodline has undergone multiple rounds of purification, making him a pure-blood giant dragon. His bloodline is on par with the 3 dragon kings of Alicia. Moreover, he had also consumed the lightning elemental flower bestowed by Master, which had significantly shortened his growth cycle while further purifying his bloodline. Who knows how terrifying Little Tenth's dragon bloodline has become? Thinking of the 3 dragon kings of Alicia and recalling the astonished looks they gave Little Tenth, Sarcosuchus could not help but laugh. If my instincts are right, Little Tenth now embodies the presence of a Dragon Emperor. Dragon Emperor, it is a title not lightly given, reserved for those within the dragon clan whose bloodline is the purest, whose strength eclipses even the mightiest of dragon kings. To be called such is not just an honor, it's a testament to unparalleled power. In essence, Little Tenth stands as the prodigious son of the dragon clan. His very existence is a beacon of talent, a symbol of the glory that the dragon clan strives for. And yet, as remarkable as that sounds, it's only potential for now, just a glimpse of what it could be. Should he ascend to the rank of Dragon Emperor, should he claim that title, Little Tenth would become more than just a figure of strength within the dragon clan. He would rise as a force to rival the greatest prodigies across the cosmos. Those who stand at the pinnacle of their races, staring down the universe with unwavering confidence. That is what makes him truly terrifying. Spring passed, autumn came, and in the blink of an eye, 2 years had gone by. 2 years, while not long in absolute terms, felt like 2 decades, or even longer, in this era of newly awakened spiritual energy. In those 2 years, the war between Earth and Alicia had reached its final stages. As one looked around, the entirety of Alicia was marred by craters, both large and small, scattered across the continent like the remnants of a meteor shower. These craters were not mere natural formations but the aftermath of fierce confrontations. They bore witness to the final, desperate attacks of natural disaster-class transcendence in their last moments of fury. Each battle, a clash of titans, had left its indelible mark on the land, reducing Alicia to a landscape of devastation and ruin. But it was precisely this level of destruction that allowed the war between worlds to approach its conclusion in just 2 years. Roar! Suddenly, a majestic roar shook the heavens as endless darkness rolled in from the horizon. If one looked closely, they would discover an immense and majestic black tiger galloping at the forefront of the waves of darkness. This was Dark Tiger, the commander of the Legion of Darkness, one of the 7 natural disaster legions of Misty Mountains. After devouring the dark element fruit, he had transformed into the embodiment of the abyss, gaining dominion over darkness itself. In 2 years, after countless brutal battles with the troll that ruled the forest of trolls, Dark Tiger had grown to become a top-tier natural disaster. His fearsome combat power was now capable of rivaling a demigod. Meanwhile, in another direction, Screech, a sharp yet melodious cry echoed through the sky as a dazzling light lit up the horizon. Immediately after, a towering white pillar of light descended, piercing through the clouds. At the center of this pillar, a magnificent pair of butterfly wings spread wide, radiating an aura of holiness and warmth that instantly enveloped everything. Visible to the naked eye, countless mutant beasts still dripping with blood had their wounds mended. Even their energy and vitality began to recover. It's the Butterfly Empress. The Butterfly Empress is here, it's really her, the legendary Butterfly Empress who can shatter the sky with her light. Excited voices rang out across the land as Earth's powerhouses looked on in awe. The Butterfly Empress, commander of the Misty Mountains Legion of Light and the embodiment of light herself, had made her presence known. Though she seldom took to the battlefield, her role was nothing short of indispensable in the war against Alicia. Each appearance of hers was a beacon of hope, lighting up the skies and healing every ally in her path. Who would have thought that in just 2 years, he would step into the demigod realm, becoming a fearsome transcendent on the verge of Tier 5. As expected of Misty Mountain's most legendary prodigy, his talent is simply extraordinary. But what's even more frightening is that he is different from other demigods. At the very least, no other demigod has given me such an overwhelming sense of oppression. Hiya, suppressing the shock in his heart, Dark Tiger took the initiative to greet, long time no see, Venerable. Dark Tiger's majestic roar pierced through the skies, his voice echoing for kilometers. The aura and majesty emanating from him rivaled that of an ordinary dragon. Indeed, it has been a while, Dark Tiger, a gentle response came from the depths of the storm clouds, as lightning dragons gazed toward Dark Tiger softened. As a matter of fact, the title Venerable was reserved exclusively for the 10 great beasts of Misty Mountains. It had nothing to do with strength or other qualifications. The 10 great beasts held a position in Misty Mountains second only to the Divine Tree, with supreme authority over all of Misty Mountains. However, it was rumored that among the 10 beasts, only Lightning Dragon, Sarcosuchus, and White Tiger were still active in the world. The others had seemingly vanished. However, those in the know were aware that they had not disappeared. Rather, they had been summoned by the Divine Tree and were training in a secret location. Today, the gathering at the center of Alicia was a direct order from Misty Mountain's first great beast, Nine Tails. One more thing that was noteworthy was the term Great Beasts was not something most dared to use. Many had already begun referring to them as the 10 Divine Beasts under the Divine Tree. In fact, the name 10 Divine Beasts had already become legendary throughout Alicia. Master, most of the experts have now mostly gathered at the center of Alicia, a sweet voice emerged from deep within a world of flames. Is that so? The soft murmur reverberated through the air, and the entire world of flames trembled, as if some ancient, terrifying power had been stirred from slumber. In response, the flickering flames leapt wildly, as though celebrating the awakening. What was even more unnerving was the sight of all the flames surging in the same direction, as if they were bowing in reverence. Following their gaze, one could see a massive azure dragon's shadow rising from the ground, majestic and awe-inspiring. Boom! The azure dragon slowly opened its eyes, a fearsome pressure surging forth from its gaze. Immediately, a figure came into view, a fox, its fur shimmering like molten fire, with 6 tails trailing behind it, each one resembling dark red flames that lazily flickered against the ground. The fox's form was ethereal, its beauty so captivating and otherworldly that it seemed to steal the very breath from one's lungs. Its elegance was unparalleled, like a living flame molded into perfection. This fox was the first divine beast under Yu's command, 9 Tails, on whom Yu relied on the most. She possessed the most mysterious bloodline from the previous era, the celestial fox bloodline. After training in the realm of fire for the past 2 years, 9 Tails had suddenly attained enlightenment, grasping the mysteries of the mind, and stepped into Tier 5. 9 Tails had become the first individual under Yu to ascend to the rank of True God. True God was how Elysians referred to transcendents who had reached Tier 5, a terrifying existence, whose full power was enough to destroy entire planets. Such experts were rare in the current universe. Every single one of them was a supreme powerhouse in their respective star domains. They could even govern the life and death of billions across multiple planets. In simple terms, even top-tier star domains like the Titan star domain and Angel star domain could not afford to ignore such powerful entities. And now, 9 Tails had reached this level. So, it was no wonder that hearing this long-awaited call caused Yu to awaken from his deep meditation. Good job. As he briefly examined the current 9 Tails, a trace of a smile flickered in Yu's eyes. This was the first mutant beast he had raised to reach the true God realm. Even in the vast universe, 9 Tails could be called a pinnacle powerhouse. Yet, despite stepping into the terrifying realm of true gods, 9 Tails remained as respectful as ever to him. With a joyous smile in his heart, Yu looked at 9 Tails with increasing satisfaction. However, after a moment, as if remembering something, Yu glanced into the depths of the starry sky and confirmed, indeed, most of them have gathered. Saying this, Yu turned his gaze back to 9 Tails and instructed, your mission is twofold, first, to intimidate the strong transcendents, and second, to select suitable prodigies from Alicia and Earth for me to cultivate. Understood, Master, 9 Tails responded with a charming smile. Immediately after, she stepped through the void rift that Yu had created and rushed toward Alicia without looking back. In an instant, 9 Tails transformed into a red comet, vanishing at the end of the void rift. Just after 9 Tails left. Sister 9 Tails is truly amazing. She managed to reach the true God realm at such a young age. Of course, 9 Tails has been following the Master from the very beginning. Sweet voices, as melodious as silver bells, echoed softly through the air before 2 graceful figures emerged. The first had radiant golden hair, skin as white as snow, and striking blue eyes that seemed to reflect the depth of oceans. Below her slender, curvaceous waist, a shimmering golden mermaid tail flicked playfully, creating ripples in the air. Yet, her most captivating feature was her ruby-red lips, from which a voice flowed so mesmerizing it could melt hearts with a mere word. This was Elsa, the Mermaid Queen, and one of Yu's trusted apostles, who had long resided in the realm of life, overseeing various affairs on his behalf. Beside Elsa stood another figure whose beauty rivaled her own, perhaps even more regal and commanding. She was Frederica, the Elf Queen, ruler of the Elf clan in Alicia. Noble and extraordinary, Frederica was a terrifying presence, having reached the demigod realm. Now, she too had become one of Yu's apostles. Together, the Mermaid Queen and the Elf Queen were known as God's assistants, servants of God. As for the God they served, it was none other than Wuxia himself. Additionally, there was one more thing that was noteworthy, and that was that no one dared to address Wuxia carelessly these days. Perhaps it was because his strength had grown so vast, Wuxia seemed to have developed a sensitivity toward how people referred to him. When someone called out Wuxia's name with great intensity, especially with malice, the image and voice of the person calling would appear in his mind. Of course, only someone with enough ability to attract Wuxia's attention could achieve this. Otherwise, he would not bother to notice. With this kind of ability, and the fact that Wuxia had reached the terrifying level of Tier 6, the way everyone addressed Wuxia had also changed. He was referred to as the Almighty. Not he, she, or it, but Almighty, a highly revered form of honorific, originating from legend and reserved for beings that transcend normal comprehension. Nowadays, under Misty Mountain's behest, most common folk refer to Wuxia with this honorific. After all, using any other form of honorific might be felt by Wuxia, disturbing his inner peace. However, this sacred form of address did not have such an effect. Thus, the more powerful an individual was, the more cautious they were in addressing Wuxia. Lower-level transcendents didn't usually take this seriously, not because of ignorance, but because beings like demigods, if they carelessly address Wuxia, were more likely to draw his attention. And Wuxia's attention, well, even the strongest of beings would not enjoy it. That cold and indifferent, powerful and terrifying, phantom of blood-red eye, just a single glance from it struck fear in everyone's heart, shaking even the heart of a demigod-level powerhouse. At this moment, as if overhearing Elsa and Frederica's conversation, Wuxia's lips curled into a smile as he remarked, "To be honest, 9 tails breaking through first came as a surprise even to us. We thought that it would be Little Tenth or Slytherin." As he spoke, Wuxia's eyes sparkled with contemplation. Tier 5, breaking through to this tier was unlike any other. Reaching this tier relied solely on individual talent and comprehension. Currently, the brightest star under Wuxia's command was none other than the lightning dragon, Little Tenth. As for Slytherin, the Yamata no Orochi, he held a sliver of eternal realm inheritance. Although it was just a bit of inheritance, it belonged to an eternal. Just that little bit of inheritance was enough to bestow endless potential to Slytherin. Over the past 2 years of fierce battles on Alicia, Slytherin had devoured countless beings, evolving into one of the most fearsome demigods. His very name now struck terror across the land, as he had become a great terror, both revered and feared by all. Given this, Wuxia no longer saw Slytherin's ascension to Tier 5 as mere hopeful speculation. Armed with part of an Eternal's inheritance, if Slytherin could not achieve Tier 5, he might as well bash his head against a rock. As for Little Tenth, having his bloodline purified again and again, and harvested several Dragon Clan inheritances from Dragon Island in Alicia, it should not be difficult for him to understand the mysteries of the soul. With these thoughts, Wuxia could not help but sigh. He had countless prodigies under his command, but only 2 or 3 had the potential to step into Tier 5. The others either lacked enough accumulation or they were unlikely to break through. Even a powerful being like Sarcosuchus, born with a violent nature, struggled to comprehend the mysteries of the soul. Nothing could be done about this. Tier 5, reaching it was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Ultimately, it depended on each individual's fate, something even Wuxia could not control. As a matter of fact, Tier 4 transcendents were not weak. Even when considering the vastness of the cosmos, they could be considered strong. As for Tier 5 transcendents, the true gods, they were the symbol of top-class power. Currently, the natural disaster-class transcendents of Misty Mountains had Wuxia, a terrifying existence who had reached Tier 6, as their dedicated master. Although it was uncertain whether they would step into Tier 5, their combat prowess was undoubtedly guaranteed. Especially for creatures like White Tiger and Golden Ant, who were nearly invincible in their tier. They could single-handedly take on 10 opponents of the same tier, and still their defeat would be up for a debate. In regards to this, Wuxia was more than satisfied. Whether they could break through or not was up to fate, something even he could not control. But they should be able to, right? Wuxia muttered, feeling somewhat unsure. At the end of the day, they were among the first creatures to emerge after the resurgence of spiritual energy. Their existence alone is a testament to fortune and opportunity, far surpassing what future generations could dream of attaining. Some say their talents are destined to be greater than all who would follow. Among them, a few awakened the fabled Xiong bloodline, while others possessed extraordinary innate talents, like the overwhelming earth-shaking strength. If even such beings, blessed by time and nature, struggled to break through, then what hope was there for the rest? It defied all reason. Of course, their breakthroughs might take some time. It could take a decade, perhaps even a century. Heaving a sigh, Wuxia stopped pondering over this. Everyone had their own fate, why should he worry? When the time was right, their breakthroughs would naturally happen. Just like how Ninetails silently stepped into the true God realm without Wuxia even noticing in advance. At this moment, sensing something, Wuxia, rooted deep in the stars, raised his gaze toward planet Alicia. Boom! Suddenly, a deafening roar resounded, as boundless waves of flame surged forth from the depths of space. Like an endless sea of fire, it engulfed the entire planet Alicia in an instant. At this moment, roiling waves of flame had blanketed the entire sky of the planet. What's this? What's happening? Are you kidding me? Such strong spiritual pressure. Cries of shock and exclamation echoed across the Elysian continent as eyes turned skyward, where flames churned and swept through the clouds. However, what was truly unbelievable was that these deep red flames, which covered the entire sky, emitted no heat at all, as if they were mere illusions. Noticing this, a transcendent from Earth instinctively drew his weapon and hurled it toward the sky. With a sharp swish, the weapon shot into the air. However, to the astonishment of not just this transcendent of Earth but countless other strong transcendents, the Tier 4 weapon instantly vaporized the moment it came into contact with the flames. It was reduced into a wisps of smoke, nothing was left of it. It's not an illusion, the dry voice, filled with terror, came from the transcendent of Earth as his face drastically turned pale, staring at the sea of flames that engulfed the sky. But just then, as if sensing something, a sudden dragon roar echoed throughout the heavens. Congratulations, elder sister, on stepping into the true God realm. Amidst the dignified dragon roar, a massive purple dragon, seemingly wearing something akin to a crown on his head, soared as if wearing a crown, soared into the sky. Long time no see, little tenth. With a voice filled with affection, the rolling waves of flames suddenly gathered into a gargantuan flame fox, so huge that she overshadowed the entire sky. Her vividly realistic fur danced in the wind, and her streamlined, graceful form was obscured within the fiery sea in the sky. Only her head emerged from within the fiery sea. Her pair of deep eyes, resembling red gemstones, glimmered with a strange gleam, as if assessing or expressing curiosity. However, this was not important. What mattered was that, even with Ninetails' seemingly languid posture, her appearance alone shook countless strong transcendents. It was terrifying, terrifying to the extreme. The suffocating aura emanating from her made it hard to breathe. Threads of red spiritual energy emerging from the flame fox entwined with each, creating a vast net of spiritual energy. Simply by the sight of this red spiritual energy, numerous strong transcendents felt their own spiritual energy become somewhat sluggish, as if suppressed by something. This was the effect of Ninetails stepping into the true God realm, spiritual energy suppression. As Ninetails delved deeper into the path of sealing, all her power began to align with sealing techniques. For now, it was merely a suppression. Once she mastered the principles of sealing, even a mere glance could seal away one's spiritual energy, and possibly even one's innate talents and abilities. This was the terror of the sealing principles. Of course, this only applied against transcendents weaker than Nine Tails. For those stronger, it would at least make their spiritual energy operation much more cumbersome. For example, even if Nine Tails unleashed all her spiritual energy, it would only slow Wuxia's spiritual energy operation slightly, let alone seal it. Nevertheless, there was no denying that the Tao of sealing was quite fearsome. After all, it was a powerful principle just behind the top 10 supreme principles. For the weak, it was a one-sided suppression, even to the extent of crushing them. A single glance could seal all their spiritual energy, and even their innate talent and abilities. Against beings of the same tier, the path of sealing was still quite formidable, almost overwhelming. A slight misstep could lead to being sealed. Only against beings like Wuxia, whose hierarchy of life was so high, would those skilled in sealing find it challenging. As a matter of fact, when the hierarchy of life's gap was too great, even mastering the top 10 supreme principles was of no use. Take Wuxia, for example. With his current strength at Tier 6 Fourth Order, he was capable of destroying the old world and erasing any existence inferior to him. As for something like surpassing the gap in tiers and challenge, that chance was only possible at lowest tiers. As one kept evolving, that chance slowly ceased to exist. By the time one reaches Tier 5, Tier 6, or even Tier 7, the possibility of surpassing the gap in tiers was exceedingly slim. As for Tier 6, 7th Order, matching the Tier 7 hegemon, it was not about surpassing. Reaching Tier 6, 7th Order was hundreds or even thousands of times more difficult than stepping into the Tier 7, the hegemon realm. In the previous era, even the top hegemons were numerous, but those who had reached Tier 6, 7th Order were very few. At higher tiers, there were generally three primary conditions that allowed someone to challenge a transcendent of a higher tier than themselves. First, if the challenger wielded an extreme Tao imperial artifact. Such an artifact, possessing power comparable to a hegemon, could give even a Tier 6 being the opportunity to contend with a hegemon. Second, if someone had successfully mastered and cultivated legendary divine abilities. This was far more difficult, as divine abilities were exceedingly rare, and fully cultivating them was even rarer. Finally, if one possessed exceptionally heaven-defying innate talents. In such cases, a weaker being might challenge a stronger opponent. However, this was only a possibility. After all, even if the weaker party had these advantages, who could guarantee that the stronger transcendent didn't possess equally remarkable talents? Take Wuxia, for example. While he did not have an extreme Tao imperial artifact, he had cultivated divine abilities to the intermediate level. As for innate talents, Wuxia had 4 or 5. If he upgraded them all to level 6, they would indeed be considered heaven-defying. Nine Tails, taking a deep look at Little Tenth, smiled with approval. Not bad at all. His talent is undeniable. He is only half a step away from reaching Tier 5. But, now's not the time to focus on Little Tenth. With that thought, Nine Tails shifted her gaze to the nearby plain. In an instant, a torrent of countless strong transcendents entered her eyes, flooding the entire plain. At the center of this torrent were figures that looked like gods and demons. One was a humanoid figure with fiery red hair, and a flame-shaped mark on his forehead. This was Qi Yan, one of China's 4 heroes. Rumor had it that he had awakened the bloodline of the fire god of the human race, granting him the power to control fire from birth. Another figure resembled a giant tortoise. Its entire body was pitch black, and radiated a deep, dark glow. Its palm-sized scales were dense and reflective, covering its entire body like a mirror. However, the most striking feature was the strange beast coiled around the giant tortoise's head, resembling a serpent, flicking its tongue as it wrapped itself around the tortoise's head. At a glance, one could feel an inexplicable ferocity emanating from it. This was one of the 7 emperors of the Earth's sea clans, a terrifying sea creature who had awakened the bloodline of the black tortoise. It excelled at water control, and was capable of turning the seas upside down with a mere thought. Yet, such a fearsome being was only one of the 7 emperors of the deep sea. It was evident how terrifying the current powerhouses of Earth had become. He, Nine-Tails chuckled, her eyes flickering as she gazed at the powerful beings on the plain. Soon, she explained her purpose. This time, the divine tree has the intention of selecting prodigies to enter the divine realms for training. The divine realms were a mysterious land that had arisen within misty mountains at an unknown time. Rumor had it that they were like paradise, where spiritual energy was dense that it condensed into mist, and spiritual flowers and fruits covered the land. It was truly a sacred place for cultivation. Upon hearing Nine-Tails mention the divine realms, a palpable tension swept through the gathered powerhouses. Even the most composed among them showed signs of unease. The most hot-headed of the group, Qi Yan, could not contain himself. Taking a bold step forward, he looked up at the sky, his fiery eyes burning with curiosity and disbelief. "Great One," he called out, his voice thick with anticipation, "is there truly such a place as the divine realms? What do you think?" With a teasing smile, Nine-Tails countered with a question of her own. "What do I think?" Pointing at himself, Qi Yan was left completely bewildered. After a moment, seeing Qi Yan's confused expression, Nine-Tails could not help but shake her head. Just as Sarcosuchus had said, Qi Yan is pure-hearted, and has the innocence of a child. Simply put, he was a bit naive, almost foolish. With a grin, Nine-Tails' spiritual energy surged, causing the fiery waves that engulfed the sky to roil and churn. Amidst the rolling flames, a massive projection began to take form in the sky, revealing the image of a distant, fiery world. It was a realm bathed in red. The spiritual energy there was so dense that it seemed almost tangible, hanging in the air like a fine mist. Stretching across the land below was an expansive forest of spirit trees, flame trees, to be precise, each one a rare tier 3 spirit tree. Such trees were considered precious on Earth, yet in this realm, the powerhouses witnessed an entire forest of them. At the far edge of the forest stood a towering flame tree, its body a deep, burning crimson. Much larger than the others, it stood quietly, exuding an awe-inspiring presence. "A tier 4 flame tree." Qi Yan cried out in disbelief, his voice trembling. "A tier 4 spirit tree, and a fire attribute flame tree at that." For him, it was the supreme treasure among supreme treasures. "If I can find it, I would not even need to break off a branch. Simply sitting beneath the flame tree, cultivating in its presence, would be enough to further awaken my fire god bloodline. Stepping into the realm of demigods would become merely a matter of time. A tier 4 spirit tree like this, and there are, with just a quick glance, Qi Yan spotted 3 of them. With all kinds of thoughts racing through his mind, Qi Yan's expression became one of excitement, even with a hint of overwhelming joy. "Great One, I wish to go, I need to go," Qi Yan repeatedly cried, bouncing like a child. However, just then, as the endless flames surged once more, another world appeared before their eyes. One world. Then another. The images of 5 different worlds unfolded, stirring the hearts of the gathered powerhouses. Raising their heads, they all started breathing heavily. Even Spirit Turtle, one of the 7 emperors of the sea clans, who had gained a fearsome reputation among the prodigies of Earth, had his pupils contract. He stared fixedly at the last world that had been revealed, the realm of life, where a single spirit tree had appeared. With his breathing growing heavier, Spirit Turtle suppressed his excitement and took a step forward, his voice deep and resonant. "Great One, is there a dragon tree in the divine realms?" The dragon tree was a supreme treasure of the dragon clan. Although the Spirit Turtle did not possess dragon bloodline, he still had a deep need for such a rare treasure. What had he just seen? A high-quality dragon tree, its form resembling a true dragon soaring across heaven, its mighty roots coiled around the peak of a towering mountain. Gulp, swallowing nervously, Spirit Turtle's expression changed. "You have good eyes," with a soft laugh, the image behind Nine-Tails paused. Then, the focus zoomed in, finally revealing a lush, emerald-green plant resembling a dragon ascending to heaven. The dragon tree was a spirit tree formed from the azure dragon's power that had unintentionally leaked out while Yuziyu cultivated. Having reached Tier 6, Yuziyu's azure dragon form had become the heavens of the 9 small worlds, equivalent to the very principles of the 9 small worlds. Though this dragon tree had been created unintentionally, it was still one of the rarest treasures among the 9 small worlds. Although it was only a Tier 4 spirit tree, to those who needed it, it surpassed even Tier 5 spirit trees. And Spirit Turtle was precisely the one who needed it most. In fact, Spirit Turtle's talent was truly outstanding, one of the few beings that Nine-Tails paid special attention to. Therefore, a little care was only appropriate. As the flames swirled, they finally revealed a naturally formed spirit tree, resembling a soaring dragon, further stirring Spirit Turtle. Faintly, 2 streams of white mist could be seen emerging from Spirit Turtle's nostrils. At this moment, as if whispering in his ear, Nine-Tails' voice resonated in Spirit Turtle's heart. "Indeed, that is a dragon tree, and it's of exceptional quality. It suits you perfectly. If you meet the divine tree, you might want to make a humble request." Nine-Tails, after transmitting the message using spiritual energy, and seeing a hint of gratitude deep within Spirit Turtle's eyes, nodded with a smile. One piece of advice in exchange for the appreciation of a rising star, not bad. Although Nine-Tails no longer cared much for such things, she did not mind lending a hand from time to forge some goodwill. However, at that moment, a thought struck, and Nine-Tails turned to gaze into the distance at a massive, cold figure resembling a gargantuan monster, as large as a mountain, emerging from the abyss. It was Sarcosuchus, an atavistic mutant beast with the purest rock dragon bloodline. He had nearly reverted to a cold, primordial massive creature. Now, he was already a demigod, just a half step away from Tier 5. However, compared to other mutant beasts, his breakthrough was exceedingly difficult. Bloodline was both a foundation and a shackle. And the source of conflict lay in the combination of his rock dragon bloodline and his ancestral bloodline. Hiya, heaving a sigh, Nine-Tails took the initiative to greet Sarcosuchus. "How are things now?" About to undergo a second atavism. Saying this, Sarcosuchus looked helplessly at the night sky. The rock dragon bloodline was strong, truly strong. However, the problem was, his ancestral bloodline was no less troublesome. As he grew stronger, he neared the second atavism. What did a second atavism mean? A return to the most primal state, mastering the most fundamental, beast power. This power was terrifying, enough to rival or even suppress the purest rock dragon bloodline. It was increasingly savage, and increasingly violent. Furthermore, it was accompanied by the transformation of his body, growing more fearsome by the day, to the point where even the rock dragon bloodline was being suppressed. Now, looking at Sarcosuchus, it was hard to discern any trace of the original giant dragon. His once majestic form had transformed into something far more fearsome. His long, cold jaws were lined with over 100 massive teeth, gleaming like the lances of European knights. Thick, iron-like muscles twisted around his massive frame, resembling cables of steel, giving him an almost mechanical appearance. At first glance, Sarcosuchus seemed more like a creature forged from metal than a living being. Yet beneath that imposing exterior, his body pulsed with life, every fiber packed with breathing, rippling muscle. His strength and defense surpassed others at his level by tenfold, making him a living fortress of unmatched power. He was a true incarnation of a monster. "Hoo!" Taking a deep breath, Nine-Tails cast a helpless glance at Sarcosuchus. Sarcosuchus is caught in a rock and hard place. He could either abandon his rock dragon bloodline and fully undergo his second atavism. Or forsake the beast power and awaken his rock dragon bloodline strength. Either choice would come at a great cost, potentially harming his foundation and causing him to stagnate in the future. So, in the end, he would need to request for Master's intervention, to see if there is a better way. Perhaps he might even require Master's supernatural powers to merge the two bloodlines. Thinking this, Nine-Tails suggested again, "You should return this time. You've delayed long enough. If you keep holding off, and can no longer suppress it, it will be too late." In rare silence, Sarcosuchus' eyes dimmed. He had thought that he would be able to handle it. However, in the end, he realized he had overestimated himself. The two bloodlines were far beyond what he could handle with his current ability. It was a difficult choice, or rather, he had no choice at all. With a slight nod, Sarcosuchus agreed, "I understand, elder sister, I will return with you." Acquiescing, Sarcosuchus lowered his eyes, lost in thought. Nine-Tails, who had been observing, naturally understood the situation. Half a year ago, Master had already sensed the anomaly in Old Fourth's bloodline. He specifically instructed me to bring him back to the 9 realms of heaven. Yet, out of pride, Old Fourth refused. The reason for his refusal was clear. Overestimating his own strength while underestimating the terrifying force of the second atavism and the rock dragon bloodline has led to today's bitter consequences. With a sigh, Nine-Tails comforted, "Everything will be fine. Master will find a way to help you." Listening quietly, Sarcosuchus remained silent for a while before finally speaking in a hoarse, low voice filled with guilt. "Master just broke through and needs to consolidate his cultivatin'. I don't want him to intervene on my behalf and delay his own progress." Shaking her head helplessly, Nine-Tails smiled wryly. This is Sarcosuchus. Though cold and fierce, he always thinks of Master first. However, Master likely already understood this. Otherwise, he would not have specifically ordered me to ensure Old Fourth returns this time. After persuading Sarcosuchus, Nine-Tails looked over the plains, carefully selecting 20 to 30 of the strongest experts. Afterward she went to where the experts of Alicia were imprisoned and selected some more strong experts. These strong experts were all at least at tier 4, making them the best candidates for UZU's current sentinels. Moreover, these individuals, having reached tier 4 on their own, were exceptionally talented. With access to the resources of Misty Mountains, it would not be difficult for them to advance even further. This was why UZU had sent Nine-Tails to personally choose them. Firstly, to intimidate. Secondly, to show their own importance. Not long after, the flames that had engulfed planet Alicia gradually faded, leaving only a massive void rift, slowly closing. At the same time, in a distant corner of the Milky Way, crack, a crisp sound echoed as a void crack, spanning 1,000 meters, opened near a gargantuan tree that blotted out the sky, with one expert after another emerging soon after. This is the legendary divine tree. Raising his gaze, Qi Yan, one of the 4 heroes of China, stared at the colossal tree, his eyes filled with awe. The tree was so huge that it seemed as if it were holding up the entire starry sky. His branches were glowing and looked like mystical divine chains. 9 vortices of different colors rotated endlessly around it, like stars. From a single glance, only a small part of the divine tree could be seen, its true form far beyond what could be comprehended. Its indescribable size made the nearby planets seem small in comparison. What a terrifying sight! With a similar sense of awe, Spirit Turtle suppressed his shock. Indeed, UZU's current form was magnificent, comparable to a celestial body. Even these top-tier tier 4 transcendents were left speechless. However, now wasn't the time to be overwhelmed by such things. Swish, swish, one after another, glowing branches, resembling divine chains, pierced through the starry sky, slowly extending toward the gathered transcendents. When the branches reached them, they were astonished to find that each branch had transformed into a broad road, spanning hundreds or even thousands of meters. To these powerful beings, hundreds or thousands of meters was not wide at all, but considering these were branches, it was terrifying. And this was just one of the many branches of the divine tree. "Come aboard," a faint voice, like a breeze, brushed past the ears of the Transcendents, sending shivers through their bodies. One by one, they unconsciously lifted their feet and stepped onto the branches. Thump, 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 accompanied by heavy footsteps, figures one after another slowly made their way along the branches, which spanned hundreds or even thousands of meters wide. At the forefront were Nine Tails and Sarcosuchus. Nine Tails had transformed into a graceful figure, about 10 meters tall. Though walking elegantly on the green, glowing branches. A closer look revealed that her four paws were hovering above the ground, with wisps of fire swirling around them. Moreover, what was more striking were the chains, seemingly emerging from the depths of the void, wrapping around her body. They veiled her figure, adding a touch of mystery to her already extraordinary presence. Just one glance was enough to feel the otherworldly air surrounding her. Beside her, Sarcosuchus had transformed into a 100-meter-long monster, walking steadily along the branch. Having mastered the divine ability, enlarging and shrinking at will, it was not difficult for him to adjust his form. As for those following behind, the largest among the mutant beasts, an emperor from the deep sea, was only about 1,000 meters long, allowing it to walk on Wuxia's branches with ease. Thump, 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 synchronized footsteps echoed quietly in the starry sky. During this, each and every mutant beasts observed their surroundings. For most of them, this was the first time they had truly seen, let alone set foot on, Wuxia's true form. Their curiosity was natural. Even Sarcosuchus could not help but cast curious glances at Wuxia's current form, for it was significantly different from before. When Wuxia had reached Tier 6 2 years ago, his true body had started growing at a terrifying speed. Now, Wuxia's complete form was comparable in size to an entire planet, a stark difference from before. His massive canopy covered the sky, forming a continent that spanned heaven. His branches, varying in size, resembled mountain ranges spanning across the stars. As for Wuxia's trunk, it was like a pillar holding up the starry sky itself. Even these Tier 4 transcendent mutant beasts could not hide their shock as they gazed at his vast tree form, their pupils shrinking to pinpoints. "It seems like my true form has exceeded their imagination," Wuxia commented in his heart, not paying much attention to it. Having reached Tier 6, his hierarchy of life was now fundamentally different from theirs. Would a human care about the thoughts of ants? Of course not. If it was not for the fact that these ants were obedient and had potential to be nurtured, Wuxia would not have even spared them a glance. This was not arrogance from power, but rather the sheer difference in hierarchy of life, which made it hard for him to take these beings seriously. Even now, just by focusing his gaze, the pressure of his higher-level existence could crush the spirits of these Tier 4 transcendents. Only beings like Nine Tails, whose spirit had undergone a qualitative change, had the qualifications to catch Wuxia's attention and even prompt him to take action. With a smile in his heart, Wuxia's true form trembled slightly. A tremendous pressure suddenly aroused from him, as if some unspeakable terror had awakened. Boom, boom, even the surrounding space started trembling, as if it couldn't bear the weight of Wuxia's presence. Right at that moment, thud, a single step echoed, prompting everyone to look. Then, in the shocked gazes of everyone, a slender figure emerged from the towering tree that seemed to hold up the sky, seemingly tearing through the space, and slowly approached. Upon closer inspection, the figure resembled an elf. With purple, translucent skin that glistened like jade, and pointed purple ears adorned with crystalline earrings, this figure was a vision of beauty, as if stepping out of a painting. However, before the gathered strong could fully comprehend the nature of this figure, the voices of Nine Tails and Sarcosuchus resounded across the starry space. "Greetings, Master." Their unified greeting rippled through the vast expanse, shaking the hearts and minds of everyone present. Though everyone was still reeling from the shock by the elven figure emerging from the body of the divine tree, none of the gathered powerhouses hesitated, nor did they dare to hesitate. "Greetings, divine tree," one by one, the strong bent their bodies in respect, their faces filled with reverence, as they greeted the approaching figure, seemingly treading the space. Wuxia, who seemed to have teleported before the gathered experts in just a single step, nodded slightly in acknowledgement. As for their astonishment, he was not surprised. His void elf form was one of his three primary forms, and also the only humanoid form, rarely revealed to others, so their shock was understandable. However, considering that Wuxia intended to have this void elf form lead the sentinels and fight across the stars, he saw no reason to hide it from these prospective sentinels. After all, they could become his subordinates. So, there was no need to keep such things secret. In fact, Wuxia's void elf form had already reached Tier 5. With his soul having undergone a qualitative change long ago, controlling his void elf form to reach Tier 5 was as easy as drinking water. However, this also meant that when the void elf form reached Tier 5, both its spiritual energy and physical body underwent a qualitative transformation. As for the mind, it was still controlled by Wuxia's consciousness. Presently, Wuxia had not yet mastered the grand diving ability, one chi transforms into three pure ones. Although he could control multiple bodies simultaneously, he could only control one at a time during a battle, while the other bodies mainly served for self-defense. This was the main reason why Wuxia was so eager to acquire the grand divine ability, one chi transforms into three pure ones. Only by mastering such a fearsome Taoist technique would Wuxia be able to split into three identical selves, each contributing to an overwhelming force, multiplying his battle strength dozens or even hundreds of times over. Moreover, with this ability, he could transform into three beings, seize great fortune, and achieve eternity. Wuxia took a deep breath, suppressing the ripples in his heart. His gaze remained completely calm as he took a deep look at the assembled powerhouses. Just one glance from him, and their souls could not help but tremble. Even though the void elf form was only at Tier 5, it was still a true god-level existence. And not just any god, but a peak level one, commanding spatial power. Even standing still, Wuxia's void elf form seemed to blend into space, exuding a sense of etherealness. Such mystical phenomena were astonishing. For these Tier 4 powerhouses, it was a shock. Even Nine Tails, who had reached Tier 5, could not help but have her gaze flicker upon witnessing this. It seems like Master has grown even stronger since last time. She thought, her heart filled with awe once again at Wuxia's terrifying power. Translation checker. Sill, Nine Tails, give them a brief introduction to their future home, the Sentinels. Wuxia ordered in a calm voice, standing quietly in the starry sky with his arms crossed. Yes, Master, responding, Nine Tails also stepped on the empty space. At the same time, her spiritual energy surged before she transformed into a sea of flames that engulfed the sky. Let me briefly introduce Master's Sentinels. The Sentinels, also known as the God's Guard, serve as Master's most powerful weapon, fighting on his behalf. The entry requirement is Tier 4, and even most demigods are merely considered strong sentinels. However, they are not the strongest among them. Typically, sentinels are assigned in pairs, working together as a team. As Nine Tails introduced calmly, her voice was both cold and soothing, like a whisper in the ear. Yet, her words shook the hearts of those listening. Tier 4 as the threshold was something they had already known. However, hearing that demigods were merely considered strong and were not the strongest was truly shocking. Still, after a moment, the gathered powerhouses looked up at the two terrifying figures in the starry sky, whose presence seemed to make the very cosmos tremble, and suppressed their shock. True gods, and not just one. No wonder Nine Tails dared to speak so boldly. In truth, what Nine Tails had said was completely true. The sentinels had grown far stronger than anyone could have imagined. For example, although Spirit Turtle possessed the power of a demigod, before sentinels like Behemoth, Red-beaked Platypus, Leviathan, and Slytherin, he was no more than a child. Demigods who were close to Tier 5 too had ranks. Behemoth and the others were peak demigods. Each of them was capable of facing 10 opponents of the same level alone. Compared to the fearsome demigods in the other parts of the universe, they were not far behind. Slytherin, with his inheritance of an eternal and ability to grow by devouring the fear of others, was even considered invincible at the same level. The introduction did not last long, and within just 10 minutes, the gathered powerhouses already had a vague idea of the Sentinel's strength. At that moment, as if to summon something, Wuxia, who stood with his arms crossed, clapped his hands. Clap, clap, crisp and thunderous claps echoed through the starry sky. Hisses, suddenly, a terrifying hiss, as if rising from the depths of the underworld, exploded in the minds of the powerhouses. Moments later, under the horrified gazes of the Tier for Transcendence, a massive shadow appeared behind Wuxia. It was so massive that it resembled a towering mountain, and it had 8 heads. Each head resembled a true dragon, and its eyes, blood-red in color, glowed like lanterns. Hiss, hiss, as the shrill hisses echoed again and again, an inexplicable fear enveloped everyone, making everyone feel as if their very souls were being shattered. Even the soles of their feet grew cold. However, just as the powerhouses were being swallowed by terror, a voice echoed through the starry sky, "Slytherin, take them to the realm of life and train them." "Yes, Master." A raspy voice replied, laced with a hint of mischief. Before the assembled Tier for Transcendence could react, Slytherin fiercely coiled his body. Hiss, hiss, at the same time, a series of shrill hisses filled the surroundings, as wisps of dark spiritual energy transformed into thousands of snakes, tying up the gathered experts. Even powerful beings like Spirit Turtle, a demigod, were easily ensnared by the Slytherin's coils, their bodies frozen with cold. Fear, a fear that was impossible to describe, had consumed them. In the face of Slytherin, they had no hope of resistance, not now, and not even if they were stronger by another level. He. Witnessing the experts being toyed with by Slytherin, Wuxia chuckled, amused. As expected, the current them is still far from being true experts. While their cultivation is sufficient, their combat strength and mental fortitude still lack refinement. In Wuxia's opinion, they are merely empty shells. However, it was understandable. Without Wuxia's guidance, their potential had already reached its limit. The reason why creatures like Behemoth and Slytherin possessed such invincible strength among their peers, even across the countless races in Cosmos, was because they had been personally trained by Wuxia, a Tier 6 Transcendent. A great teacher would produce great students. Moreover, their innate talents were not weak either. This was not even accounting for the Tier 5 and Tier 6 spirit essence that Wuxia provided them, which far surpassed their current hierarchy of life. All these factors combined made every sentinel invincible among their peers. At this moment, Wuxia, after watching Slytherin disappear into the entrance of the realm of life, turned his gaze towards the nearby Sarcosuchus Master. Sensing Wuxia's scrutinizing gaze, Sarcosuchus lowered his head in embarrassment. Wuxia could not help but heave a sigh in resignation. At the same time, a blood-red vertical line appeared on his brow. His spiritual energy surged as a blood-colored eye, containing the depths of the vast cosmos within it, slowly opened. Wuxia's Tier 6 heavenly eye was powerful enough to peer into most things. The situation within Sarcosuchus' body was laid bare under Wuxia's heavenly eye. Boom, in just a moment, as if understanding everything, a hint of pity flashed across Wuxia's gaze as he looked at Sarcosuchus. He must have been suffering a lot recently. His ancestral blood is also a bloodline, and it is nearing its second awakening. However, the purest bloodline of the rock dragon is too proud and refused to coexist with the ancestral bloodline. These two powerful bloodlines, which ordinary people could only dream of, are constantly battling within Sarcosuchus' body like living creatures. Just imagining such a conflict within Sarcosuchus' body was enough to understand what he had been enduring. Narrowing his eyes, Wuxia looked at the terrifying red and golden energies tangled within Sarcosuchus' body, his expression darkening. Humph! With a cold snort, a terrifying force erupted from Wuxia, shaking the surroundings. Even Sarcosuchus' body trembled. Then, cough, cough, after a series of painful coughs, Sarcosuchus spat out a mouthful of reddish-black blood. In that moment, the excruciating pain, like countless blades stabbing into his body, finally slightly eased. Boom. Suddenly, a thunderous rumble shook the depths of the starry sky. Looking up, one could see Wuxia's innumerable branches actually stretched high towards the sky. And a huge prehistoric crocodile, 100 meters long, thrashing about on one of the branches. Little fourth, today, I will cleanse your bloodline. If you can't bear it, remember to call for help. As he spoke, each of Wuxia's branches fiercely vibrated, radiating divine brilliance like starlight. This was the most mysterious power of life. And now, with a thunderous crack, one of Wuxia's branches whipped through the starry sky, fiercely lashing at Sarcosuchus. Grr! A resonant beastly roar escaped Sarcosuchus as his entire body shuddered. Upon closer inspection, a long, gaping wound could be seen on his body, exposing the bone beneath. At the same time, pain, an unimaginable pain, instantly flooded Sarcosuchus' mind. Even though Wuxia, a tier 6 transcendent, held back, such a strike was still far beyond what the tier 4 Sarcosuchus could withstand. As a result, under the sympathetic gaze of 9 tails, Sarcosuchus' body convulsed uncontrollably. However, this was only the beginning, just the beginning. Crack, 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 one after another, dozens of Wuxia's branches lit up with starlight, viciously lashing at Sarcosuchus. Even someone as resilient as Sarcosuchus could not help but gnash his teeth, letting out painful growls. In just a short while, Sarcosuchus' entire body was covered in blood. At a glance, it looked terrifying, yet also pitiful. Master, unable to bear to watch, Nine Tails' worried voice came from afar. It's fine, Wuxia waved his branch dismissively, his expression remaining icy. Yet, if one looked closely, the usually calm and placid depths of his eyes, like an undisturbed lake, now showed rare ripples. At this moment, while Sarcosuchus may appear miserable, with each strike from Wuxia's branches, a faint starlight flowed into his body. This was vitality, originating from Azure Dragon, which could regrow flesh from bare bones, and even bring the dead back to life. If not for this continuous infusion of vitality, Sarcosuchus would not have survived even the third lash from Wuxia. Little fourth, the pain you endure now will be repaid tenfold. Silently reassuring himself, Wuxia increased the intensity of his strikes once again. Crack! Suddenly, an even greater pain surged through Sarcosuchus, causing him to let out a sorrowful wail. Roar! A heart-wrenching cry echoed through the starry sky, carrying an indescribable resolve. There was no true concept of night or day in the starry sky. However, amidst the revolving stars and planets, several days and nights passed. Now, if one were to gaze at a corner of the starry sky, they would see a massive golden creature, resembling a crocodile, quietly floating in space, unmoving. The short, thick limbs remained unchanged, as they always had. However, Sarcosuchus' entire body was now covered in golden scales, resembling those of a dragon. His eyes, too, had transformed, now like dragon eyes, exuding a coldness that carried the eternal stillness of the starry sky. Swish! With a swishing sound, one of Wuxia's branches, resembling a divine chain, tore through the starry sky, descending upon the golden crocodile. Boom! A terrifying explosion echoed as the golden crocodile's body shuddered violently. Upon closer inspection, sparks could be seen flying. Those scales were dragon scales, layered upon each other, forming a formidable defense that even Yu's branch could not penetrate. However, that was not the most terrifying part. What was truly horrifying was that despite enduring such a heavy blow, Sarcosuchus' eyes remained icy and emotionless, as if they had lost all feeling. They were filled with a grimness that seemed to rise from the depths of the underworld. This was the current Sarcosuchus. After countless lashes from Yu, the two powerful bloodlines within him had finally merged, giving birth to a new bloodline. It carried the dragon's majesty and nobility, yet also retained the primal coldness of the beast. Even Yu could not precisely describe it. However, one thing was certain, Sarcosuchus was now incredibly strong. Rohur, a thunderous beastly roar echoed through the starry sky, creating ripples all around. Sarcosuchus' massive golden tail, which occupied more than half of his body, suddenly swung up. Swishing through the starry sky, leaving a golden trail, the massive golden tail smashed directly into Yu's descending branch. Boom! Another deafening explosion echoed, shaking the starry sky as golden and green shockwaves, evenly divided, swept across the thunderous expanse for thousands of kilometers. Not bad, Yu muttered a faint compliment as another branch descended. At that moment, as if sensing something, Sarcosuchus' golden dragon eyes suddenly focused. Almost instinctively, his massive golden tail lashed out once more. Boom! Another explosion followed, and an even more terrifying force erupted at one point, unleashing a vast shockwave. His physical body is now comparable to that of a typical Tier 5 Transcendent, Yu noted in a satisfied voice, gazing at the 100-meter-long Sarcosuchus in the distance, his eyes narrowing. In that moment, countless golden texts appeared before Yu's eyes. Race: Prehistoric Sarcosuchus, ancestor of crocodiles/dragon crocodile, rank, Tier 4, physical body at Tier 5, innate talent, atavism, continuously traces back to ancient glory, awakening the primal instinct of a top predator in the food chain. The angrier it gets, the more terrifying its power becomes, until instinct consumes reason, transforming it into a killing machine. After the second atavism, his body has undergone another evolution, growing stronger without being restricted by tiers. His speed and reflexes have also become more acute, as if a sixth sense has awakened, allowing Sarcosuchus to rely purely on instinct in battle. Dragon bloodline: the ancient bloodline of dragons flows through his veins, noble and powerful, making him even more pure and majestic. Unique abilities: mastery of earth. He regards the earth as nothing and can manipulate the earth element at will. He can even travel across the earth faster than flying. Primal instinct: his instincts are fully awakened, granting Sarcosuchus the highest level of battle awareness. Muscle movements: the muscles beneath the dragon scales are epitome of strength and power. Just a slight movement is enough to allow Sarcosuchus to unleash speed and power beyond comprehension. Dragon scales: the scales, akin to those of a dragon, provide the strongest defense and are also a terrifying weapon. When raised, the scales can transform into blades capable of cutting through anything. Berserk: the more Sarcosuchus fights, the stronger and fiercer he becomes. When his body is soaked in blood, his strength, speed, and reflexes undergo a qualitative transformation. Yu, reading through Sarcosuchus' status screen, slightly narrowed his eyes, clearly satisfied. The current Sarcosuchus fully lived up to his name, truly becoming the king of crocodiles. The title, Ancestor of Crocodile, was enough to say it all, a recognition even the system had acknowledged. Overlapping golden scales covering his entire body, gave off a terrifying and powerful aura. Even his eyes, radiating an icy coldness, emitted a sense of terror that ordinary beings could not bear. At that moment, as if sensing Yu's gaze, a voice rang in his ears: "Master." The word, deep and hoarse, remained as cold as ever, but the fervor and reverence in the voice were palpable, even to an ordinary person. "You've suffered greatly." As he spoke, Yu looked at Sarcosuchus, whose spirit showed signs of exhaustion from the ordeal, and slowly opened the entrance to his realm of life. "Go, take some rest." "Yes, master." Sarcosuchus did not say anything further, everything was understood in silence. Then, Sarcosuchus, who was barely able to move, slowly moved his limbs. Thud, 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 step by step, he walked towards a nearby emerald green portal. At the same time, in the realm of life. Within the base of the sentinels, the strong transcendents raised their heads, one by one, looking towards the sky, seemingly sensing something. Sarcosuchus, in a voice filled with seriousness and solemnity, Golden Behemoth, who had been quietly honing his strength beside a mountain, slowly stood up. Surprisingly, Behemoth had reached the golden grade. Thanks to the Tier 6 spirit essence provided by Wuxia, along with his dedicated guidance, Behemoth's bloodline had been purified once again, elevating him to the royal lineage of behemoths, Golden Behemoth. His immunity to the elements had reached an astonishing 90%, and his strength had risen once more. Though he still remained at the demigod realm, at the threshold of Tier 5, his combat strength was terrifying to the extreme. And now, this incredibly powerful demigod, staring deeply at the golden figure emerging from the swirling vortex in the sky, slowly dropped to one knee. Boom! Immediately, a fearsome tremor rocked the ground, shaking even the mountains. Golden Behemoth, the supreme powerhouse in the Sentinels, had knelt in respect. "Greetings, Fourth Great One," Golden Behemoth greeted in a sincere voice, showing an unmistakable reverence. Great Ones, the rulers of the Misty Mountains, commanded respect. And Great Ones like Nine Tails and Sarcosuchus, who had ascended to Tier 5, the realm of true gods, especially so. Now, sensing that Sarcosuchus had reached Tier 5 in physical strength, resembling a prehistoric beast that had come to life, Golden Behemoth lowered his noble head. However, as Golden Behemoth's voice reverberated through the sky, other powerful beings seemed to snap to attention, their expressions shifting in realization. The Fourth Great One has really stepped into the true God realm. It's not likely to be false. That Behemoth fellow treats all the other Great Ones as equals, except for the First Great One. If the fourth had not reached the level of a true god, Behemoth wouldn't have knelt on one knee. My goodness, no wonder I sense something different about Fourth Great One's aura. It turns out, he's reached the true God realm. Amidst astonished exclamations, countless powerful beings knelt on one knee, paying their respects to the golden figure walking out from the vortex in the sky. "Greetings, Great One," in unison, their voices echoed like waves, shaking the entire realm of life. Sarcosuchus, on the other hand, did not say anything or do anything. He shot a glance at the spirit lake at the deepest corner of the realm of life, out saying much or doing anything, glanced at the vast spiritual lake at the deepest part of the realm of life. Smack, then, with a sudden flick of his golden tail, Sarcosuchus' figure vanished in a flash, disappearing into the horizon. Moments later, boom, a loud splash erupted from the spirit lake as water splashed hundreds of meters high into the air. At the same time, a massive vortex of spiritual energy appeared in the sky, pulling in the surrounding energy. In the sky, a phantom of the azure dragon appeared, with its mouth open, continuously exhaling vitality into the swirling vortex. Although Sarcosuchus had made a breakthrough, he had somewhat overdrawn his potential. If he did not refine his power carefully, it could develop into future complications. Meanwhile, Wuxia, sensing Sarcosuchus submerging into the depths of the realm of life's spirit lake, smiled with satisfaction. Sarcosuchus, or Little Fourth, had proven to be a true confidant. He had always been Wuxia's most reliable beast, guarding Misty Mountains. In human terms, Sarcosuchus was like a general of a great nation, commanding respect across the lands. Now that he had advanced, Wuxia couldn't be more pleased. However, seemingly having thought of something, Wuxia could not help but sigh. Sigh, a rare look of concern appeared on his face. "Master." Sensing Wuxia's distress, Nine Tails approached and asked softly, are you worried about Old Seventh and Old Eighth? Old Seventh, Pteranodon was a formidable creature whose combat prowess had grown significantly. He had recently advanced to Tier 4. Yet, for someone of his status, that was far from enough. As the seventh divine beast of Misty Mountains, if he could not rule over a world, it would be a disgrace to his title. Understanding this, Titan had gone into seclusion after breaking through to Tier 4, not emerging until now. As for Old Eighth, Tundra, the mammoth, his situation was even more complicated. Among the 10 divine beasts, his talent was the dullest. Despite Yuziu's help, allowing him to break through to Tier 4, his combat strength was still far from extraordinary. Even now, he remained in Bull Demon's territory inside the realm of Earth, honing himself in the gravity field. Old Seventh is doing better. With his recent surge in power, though he may not dominate all, he lives up to the title of Divine Beast. But Old Eighth, Haya, with a trace of helplessness, Yuziu did not know what more to say. Innate talent was something that could not be easily solved. When Yuziu initially subdued the 10 divine beasts, his status screen helped him select them. Even so, success could not be guaranteed. It was normal for a few not to reach their full potential. But now, with the rise of Misty Mountains, the 10 divine beasts had become a dominant force in the world. They were both the face of Misty Mountains and Yuziu's pride. Understanding this, both Old Seventh and Old Eighth had developed deep emotional burdens upon realizing their lack of power. Their inner conflicts had only worsened over time, with Old Eighth even once requesting to renounce his title as the 8th Great Beast. It showed how deeply these two were struggling internally. Each has their own destiny. If Old Seventh and Old Eighth knew you were worrying about them, they'd only feel more guilty. As Ninetails spoke, she gently approached one of Yuziu's branches, leaned against it, and then continued, "Besides, Master, you surely have a way to help them, don't you? Otherwise, you wouldn't show such hesitation." "Of all, you know me best," Yuziu smiled as one of his branches habitually brushed through Ninetails' soft fur. After organizing his thoughts, he frankly spoke, "I've been wondering, could I forcibly purify Old Seventh and Old Eighth's bloodlines, thereby reversing their innate talents? You must understand, Old Seventh and Old Eighth work as hard as anyone, and they've had no shortage of resources. What is truly holding them back is their innate talent. In the early days of the spiritual energy resurgence, their innate talent, atavism, was indeed strong. But after the third wave of spiritual energy tides, with countless bloodlines awakening, their innate talents have fallen far behind. They aren't even in the second class anymore. Unless," Yuziu's eyes flickered with a sharp gleam. "Unless their innate talent, atavism, evolves again, like Old Fourth's did, achieving a second round of atavism." Yuziu continued, "If they were to undergo a second round of atavism, their innate talents would improve drastically, pushing Old Seventh and Old Eighth back into the first class. But as things stand, a second round of atavism is nearly impossible. Even Sarcosuchus barely achieved it due to his purest rock dragon bloodline, HAAA." Ninetails sighed softly, understanding the situation. The innate talent, atavism, was not weak, at least not on Earth. However, when compared to the myriad races in the cosmos, atavism became insignificant. Only individuals like Sarcosuchus, who underwent a second round of atavism and became an ancient ruler of their species, had any hope of competing with the elites of the myriad races. Sarcosuchus' second round of atavism made him the ancestor of crocodiles, the forebearer of his entire species. For Old Seventh and Old Eighth, only a second round of atavism, which would make them ancient rulers of their respective races, could give them the true potential to compete against the myriad races. Suppressing her emotions, Ninetails raised her gaze and asked, "Master, if you're considering purifying their bloodlines, why not just do it? The risks are too high. Not every mutant beast is suitable for such a bloodline purification. Right now, I'm still thinking of finding a more suitable bloodline for them." Listening intently, Nine Tails furrowed her brows in confusion. A more suitable bloodline? Yes, a more suitable bloodline. Nodding, Yuziyu frankly explained, Old Seventh still has the potential for a second round of atavism. But Old Eighth faces an incredibly slim chance. Forcing a second round of atavism may not be the best option for him. Instead, it might be better to replace his bloodline. Right now, I'm considering which bloodline would truly suit him. As he spoke, Yuziyu's gaze sharpened, focusing on the realm of Earth, where the colossal tundra, a mammoth, towering over a kilometer, resembling a walking mountain, resided. His long, shaggy fur hung down, and the oppressive gravity constantly weighed on his massive body. Yet, thud, with each step that shook the ground, Tundra's expression became even more determined and resolute. Whenever he could no longer bear the crushing pressure from all sides, his long trunk would curl around a drop of life essence and bring it to his mouth. He was trying, truly trying, but if hard work alone was enough, what need would there be for innate talent? Even Zi Lian failed to succeed through sheer effort. In the end, he had to risk his life and seize the Void Clan's innate talent, only then was he able to shine brightly. Indeed, effort was important, but talent, too, was indispensable. With this realization, a trace of resolution flickered in the depths of Yuziyu's eyes. After a moment, Yuziyu, watching Tundra tirelessly walk and hone his body under gravity, called him out, "Tundra." His call shook the realm of Earth as sound waves rippled through the air, endlessly. "Master, you're here," Tundra responded excitedly, raising his head promptly, his trunk curling up as he let out a long trumpet toward the sky. Aha, nodding slightly, Yuziyu wasted no time and stated his purpose straightaway, "I'm considering replacing your bloodline. Are you willing?" "Replace my bloodline?" Tundra trembled slightly in astonishment, seemingly unable to react. "You must understand your current limitations. Your bloodline is a shackle, and the path of atavism doesn't suit you. After much deliberation, I've devised this plan for you. However, this method carries immense risk, with only a 1% chance of survival, which even I cannot guarantee." Yuziyu's eyes narrowed as his voice grew heavy, each word laden with seriousness. A long silence pervaded the realm of Earth. After a moment, as if realizing something, Tundra raised his head and asked loudly, "Master, will this affect you?" A soft sigh escaped Yuziyu, feeling helpless. "Why do all these little ones always worry about me?" Still, in truth, he was a little moved. His care and effort in nurturing them had not been in vain. "Don't worry. It won't affect me much. But for you, it's a matter of life and death, with only a 1% chance of survival, 1%, huh?" With a snort of laughter, Tundra swung his trunk forcefully and half-jokingly stated, "Master, I'm nothing but a failure anyway. If anything happens to me, you shouldn't worry. I'm sure there will be a better eighth great beast to serve you." However, before Tundra could finish his sentence, the space suddenly trembled as a heavy, cold snort cut off Tundra's words, followed by an icy voice echoing through the heavens, "Humph, remember this, the 10 divine beasts are unique, irreplaceable, and no one can take their place. Sylvan, I would like to thank all the support so far. We've updated the Patreon. Tier 1, only read posts in bulk - 5 chapters read ahead. Tier 2 to 5 chapters read ahead - 10 chapters read ahead. Tier 3 to 15 chapters read ahead - 20 chapters read ahead. Tier 4, new - 40 chapters read ahead. The 10 divine beasts are unique, irreplaceable, and no one can take their place. This statement from Yuziyu was not spoken lightly. It reflected his resolute determination. Under his command, apart from the 10 divine beasts, his left and right guardian, and even his elemental generals, were irreplaceable. These companions had grown alongside Yuziyu from their youth and were his true confidants. No mere powerful being could simply take their place. Upon hearing Yu Ziyu's words, Tundra clenched his teeth, suppressing his emotions, and responded, "Master, I understand my mistake," and, responding, Yu Ziyu left one final instruction before departing: "Prepare yourself. In 3 days, I will replace your bloodline." Time passed slowly, and 3 days quickly came to an end. On this day, deep within the starry sky, a crowd of powerful transcendents was gathered. All 10 divine beasts were present, as were the left and right guardians. Ice Elemental Flood Dragon and Snake Queen stood by Yu Ziyu's side. At this moment, each expert wore a solemn and grave expression. The reason: their master was about to replace the bloodline of the 8th divine beast, Tundra, the mammoth. Rumor had it that the bloodline in question was the fearsome Titan bloodline. The first divine beast herself had confirmed that their master would use his own soaring purple flood dragon's blood as a catalyst to transplant the Titan bloodline into Tundra. From that moment on, Tundra would become a true cosmic Titan, bearing the stars on his back and walking among the stars. Of course, this would only happen if the bloodline transplant succeeded. At this moment, within the 9 realms of heaven, inside the small world bearing the name Void. This was a world of sin and punishment, a place where even the strongest could be exiled. Currently, in the deepest corner of this world, a colossal creature the size of a star let out an earth-shattering roar. Surrounding it was a purple serpentine figure, its body continuously coiling around the gargantuan beast, tightly binding it. This was the soaring purple flood dragon, and a void king from the depths of the void space, a beast known as Gluttony, that could devour anything and grow endlessly. Its gaping maws were like a black hole, capable of swallowing anything, and its body's complex structure capable of converting everything it swallowed into the matter it needed. In theory, it was a being similar to Titan, but even purer. At the very least, the Titan clan still needed to cultivate, while this void beast merely needed to devour continuously to grow. Thus, the soaring purple flood dragon had been tirelessly analyzing the void beast's body structure, constantly devouring its bloodline, hoping to one day fully grasp the void beast's unique power. Finally, the soaring purple flood dragon had made some progress. Visibly, the intricate violet patterns on its body now bore a 40 to 50% resemblance to the void beast. More importantly, even the soaring purple flood dragon's aura had started to resemble that of a void beast. Hiss, at this moment, as if sensing something, the cold and menacing purple snake eyes of the soaring purple flood dragon slowly opened as it roared towards the sky deep within the realm of void. As it raised its gaze, it saw a purple vortex appearing in the distant sky. And within that vortex, the soaring purple flood dragon saw a mountain-sized mammoth slowly approaching. Moreover, behind the vortex, it saw figures like 9 Tails, Bull Demon, and several other powerful transcendents, all watching with worry in their eyes. Hiss, another shrill echoed through the void space as a massive consciousness entered it. In the next instant, a hint of clarity returned to the soaring purple flood dragon's eyes. This marked the moment Yu Ziyu took control of the soaring purple flood dragon. As a matter of fact, aside from the azure dragon, which had transformed into the heaven of 9 realms, the soaring purple flood dragon was nothing more than an extension of Yu Ziyu's roots. When Yu Ziyu's consciousness was not present, it operated on instinct alone, just instincts. It could attack and defend, but there was no conscious mind directing its actions. At most, it could only bring out 30 to 40% of its true power. As for Yu Ziyu's other body, the Void Elf, it was merely a puppet Yu Ziyu used to walk the world of mortals from afar. Like the soaring purple flood dragon, the Void Elf required Yu Ziyu's control to act. As of now, neither the azure dragon, soaring purple flood dragon, nor the Void Elf could truly be called clones. After all, bodies without self-awareness could not be considered true clones. Yu Ziyu had no need for clones either. Clones carried too many risks and could even turn on their master. This current situation was ideal. Whenever he needed to use one of those bodies, Yu Ziyu could simply descend his consciousness into them. As for why he created beings like the Azure Dragon, the soaring purple flood dragon, and the Void Elf, it was understandable. After all, his true form was that of a tree. His roots, stems, leaves, flowers, fruits, and seeds were all extensions of his body. It was natural that he refined certain parts individually. However, compared to his ever-growing main body, it was becoming harder for his consciousness to fully control everything. Especially thanks to the evolution points, certain parts of his body have become exceptionally powerful after undergoing constant upgrades. His primary root and cosmic root had grown so strong that they transcended ordinary understanding, transforming into the Azure Dragon and soaring purple flood dragon. Without Wuxia's full consciousness present, it was difficult to unleash their true power. This was why Wuxia desired the greatest divine ability of the Taoist sect, one Qi transforms into three pure ones. He sought nothing else but to control the Azure Dragon, soaring purple flood dragon, and Void Elf all at once. From this perspective, these beings were merely extensions of his combat strength, only to be summoned in true battle. Currently, Wuxia planned to use the soaring purple flood dragon's Titan bloodline to replace Tundra's bloodline. This meant that he needed to descend his consciousness into the body of the soaring purple flood dragon to control it. Hisses, giving out an increasingly shrill hiss, Wuxia glanced at the now weakened void beast but did not seem concerned. Instead, his gaze shifted toward the towering tundra in the distance. Tundra was massive, but from the perspective of Wuxia in his current soaring purple flood dragon form, it seemed as insignificant as a speck of dust. After all, the current soaring purple flood dragon form could coil around entire stars. Even powerful true gods would be utterly baffled by his immense size. Seeing that familiar gaze, Tundra tentatively called out, with a hint of nervousness on his face. And who could blame him? The distant purple body was simply too colossal, stretching straight into heaven and spiraling upward. Its eyes flickered like the sun and moon in the sky. This was the terrifying form Wuxia's soaring purple flood dragon had acquired after devouring the void beast's flesh over a long period of time, growing continuously. Dra, a hoarse call echoed as Wuxia's eyes, vast like the sun and moon in the sky, fixed on the approaching mammoth in the distance. Boom. In an instant, an overwhelming pressure, like a tsunami, spreaded from the soaring purple flood dragon, sending ripples across the void space for kilometers. This pressure was due to Wuxia's unfamiliarity with this particular body. Although the body of the soaring purple flood dragon was transformed from Wuxia's cosmic root, upon Wuxia's breakthrough to Tier 6, the soaring purple flood dragon, being part of his body, also advanced. However, the energy required to ascend to Tier 6 was immense, and since Wuxia had been focused on upgrading his main body, he had not paid much attention to the soaring purple flood dragon, leaving it incomplete in its advancement. Be that as it may, it was close, too close. Carrying the powers of the void space, the soaring purple flood dragon could absorb energy from the void space itself and had been continually refining its form using a void beast as a reference. Today, it was only a step away from completing the breakthrough to Tier 6. Now, as Wuxia's consciousness descended, it was the perfect moment to consolidate this power and make the true leap. With this in mind, Wuxia glanced at Tundra and stated, "Let me break through first." Saying so, Wuxia, without waiting for Tundra's surprised reaction, coiled his body in preparation. Boom, the void trembled as the vast, snake-like purple form coiled and wound through the realm of void. Looking up, its immense body resembled a colossal purple wall, pushing back the surrounding clouds and mist, evoking an indescribable sense of terror. At the same time, crack. Crack, sounds of space shattered echoed through the realm of void as countless purple streams surged through the shattered space, rushing towards Wuxia's gargantuan form, to the astonishment of Tundra. Hisses, With a thunderous hiss, Yu's colossal figure shot up like a towering beam of purple light, piercing through the entire realm of void. Boom! With a deafening explosion, the space fractured as Yu ascended to the deeper depths of the void space, connected to the realm of void. It was here that he would undergo true transformation. It's time for the real breakthrough, whispering in his heart, Yu's serpent tail coiled around the void beast the size of a planet and tightened its grip. Asterisk crack. Asterisk the next moment, the bones of the void beast shattered under the serpent's immense strength, accompanied by a heart-wrenching cry of agony. However, before this heart-wrenching cry spread through the voice further, with another deafening explosion, the void beast's entire body blew into pieces. A massive suction came from Yu's soaring purple flood dragon form before the fragmented remains of the beast flowed into him. Within moments, the entire void beast had been devoured. With it, a profound black hole-like mark appeared on Yu's forehead. This was the mark of the Void King. Yu had successfully seized the void beast's mark of king, becoming a new Void King. Already a master of void energy, it was not difficult for Yu to claim the mark of king of the Void Clan. This mark, akin to a divine authority, was both enigmatic and terrifying, granting immense power. For Yu, the benefits were boundless. The 17th king of the Void Clan, the embodiment of hunger, a true beast that devours all. Glancing at the new line of text on his status panel, a grin spread across Yu's face. The 17th king, not bad. The number was not an indicator of strength, but rather the order in which the void creatures had reached tier 4. For instance, being the 17th king meant that the void beast was the 17th void creature in the entire Void Clan to ascend to tier 4. With its original power, it would easily have been in the top 10, if not the top 5. After all, even at tier 4, its size rivaled that of a star. It was truly a monstrous existence. Now, however, this 17th king had evolved into an even more terrifying monster, a tier 6 void creature. It was unbelievable, absolutely unimaginable. If the other void creatures or even the Titan star domain learned of this, they would be utterly shocked. After all, the Titan star domain had already been struggling to deal with a tier 5 void creature. They had exhausted all their resources just to contain it, yet they were unable to eliminate it. They were bogged down. And now, if they found out that the Void Clan had birthed a tier 6 monster, the reaction would be unimaginable. However, at that moment, Yu was unaware of the ripple effects of his theft of the 17th Void King, Gluttony's power, and then having stepped into tier 6, innumerable creatures in the vast and boundless depths of the void space shuddered. An instinctual fear, rose from deep within their souls, made them raise their eyes and gaze towards the farthest reaches of void space. How is this possible? How can anyone become a Void Emperor so soon? No, impossible. Cries of disbelief erupted nooks and corners of the void space, with innumerable strange and terrifying beings, all of them monstrous in form, wearing expressions of disbelief. Meanwhile, in the void space on the backside of the Titan star domain. Well. A gargantuan figure engulfed in black flames, humanoid in shape, suddenly stood from a throne as large as a planet, a look of shock and doubt in its eyes. This was the third king of the Void Clan, bearer of the name, Greed. In a stroke of fate, he had corrupted a prodigy of the Titan clan and had become a fallen Titan, thereby gaining intelligence. But now, what had he sensed? In the distant, unknown reaches of the void space, he could sense an aura that made him feel a deep dread, the aura of a Void Emperor. What a joke! I've only just recently reached tier 5, and I'm still hundreds or thousands of years away from reaching tier 6, and now, how? His voice trembled with disbelief, and his expression mirrored his words. However, soon after, as though a thought struck him, he calmed the turmoil in his heart, and his frown slowly relaxed. However, if a Void Emperor were to appear at this time, it wouldn't be all that bad. After all, the Titan star domain has been quite troublesome to deal with. Recalling his recent humiliating defeats at the hands of the Titans, where he was unable to do anything but flee, his face twisted into a cold smile. A true god like me might be powerless against the Titan star domain, but what about an emperor of the Void clan? Ha, ha. The Void clan was strong, extremely so, to the point that it was nothing short of terrifying. They resided deep within the void space, a desolate and endless world that was starkly different from the beautiful starry cosmos, far too different. Moreover, the most important aspect was that due to the ominous nature of void creatures, they were rejected by the universe. Born with an aura of misfortune, regarded as mortal enemies by the myriad races. As far as the fallen Titan knew, whenever a void creature appeared, powerful experts from all races would immediately gather to hunt them down. He himself had been lucky to escape and had grown to his current power under the constant pursuit of these races. As such, there was no possibility of a dialogue between the Void clan and the myriad races. They were born enemies. Although the Void clan often fought among themselves, devouring each other to grow stronger, there was an unspoken rule in place: no void creature that had reached tier 4 was allowed to devour their kin. This was because they shared a common enemy, the myriad races. In light of this, it was easy to understand why the fallen Titan's lips curled into a cold smile when he sensed the emergence of a void emperor. Rather than worrying about that unknown creature who had suddenly ascended to tier 6, it was the myriad races that should be more concerned. With the birth of a void emperor, the idea of the Void clan seizing an entire star domain was no longer a mere fantasy. Ha ha ha, suddenly, the fallen Titan burst into laughter. Without another word, he turned to a nearby void creature and ordered, "Go, find that void emperor and invite him to join us in conquering the Titan star domain." "Yes, master." Responding promptly, a towering humanoid creature, completely purple and standing thousands of meters tall, shot toward the depths of the void space. This was a young Titan, but he had also been corrupted by a void creature, transforming into a void Titan. However, compared to the strength of the fallen Titan, this young Titan was only at tier 4. Nonetheless, he was one of the fallen Titan's most trusted subordinates. There were just too few of their kind around the fallen Titans. Even after searching for so long, he had only gathered around 100 clansmen. This was the greatest tragedy of the Void clan: the vastness of the void space caused their power to be extremely scattered. Like now, sending a tier 4 void Titan to search, the fallen Titan estimated it would take decades, perhaps even centuries, to locate that void emperor. However, he was not too concerned about it. At their level, time was the least of their worries. Moreover, decades or even centuries were nothing but the blink of an eye to the cosmos. However, what this void Titan did not know was that, compared to his swiftness, in a sector of void space, not far from Wuxia's position, another creature suddenly froze in place. The creature was entirely purple, and resembled an octopus. It had a massive eye, which occupied most of its body. A void emperor. Its psychic waves surged with intensity as it contemplated the situation. After a moment, as though it had come to a conclusion, the strange void creature's body shifted, surging rapidly toward Wuxia's location. "I'm quite curious about this void emperor's form." Its psychic waves pulsed with excitement, its purple flickering madly. This was none other than the 72nd king of the Void clan, bearing the name Knowledge. It was a terrifying creature, driven by a thirst for knowledge and a talent for creation. An oddity within the Void clan, it was one of the few that was born with intelligence, making it a truly fearsome existence. At this moment, Wuxia, who had just completed his breakthrough, paid no attention to the distant waves coming from far away. Compared to those distant matters, his immediate priority was to separate the Titan bloodline from himself. For Wuxia, now carrying the title of Gluttony, the Titan bloodline had lost much of its usefulness. After all, gluttony was the very prototype of devouring power. If he could truly master the powers of gluttony, or even devouring, and grow stronger by consuming others, what use would the strength of Titans hold for him? Heh heh, with a playful laughter, Yu's energy surged. Drip, drip, one drop after another, pure blood dripped down from his towering, purple tail. The blood, purple and crystal clear, was the purest form of Titan bloodline. Yet, these few drops of Titan blood were as vast as an entire lake. It was truly a terrifying sight. At this moment, "Thorns, drain old Eighth's blood." "Yes, master," a voice responded, as a blood-red figure suddenly emerged from the depths of the realm of void. This was Thorns, the Blood Queen, who excelled at controlling blood. Now, having already reached Tier 4, draining old Eighth's blood was no challenge for her. Just like now, just by raising her hand, a terrifying suction emerged from her, causing old Eighth's body to fiercely tremble. And then, "Pfft," a piercing, agonizing trumpet echoed as old Eighth's hide cracked apart, with endless streams of red blood gushing out. These streams of red blood gathered in the sky and took the shape of a massive blood-colored mammoth that was roaring to heaven, as if in agony and fear. Blood, after all, contained traces of old Eighth's soul. Even when extracted, it would naturally coalesce and affect his very being. Turning her gaze towards old Eighth, whose body was rapidly withering and about to turn into a dried-up corpse, Thorns could not bear to continue. "I said, drain his blood completely." Hearing Yu's voice, Thorns froze for a moment before nervously stating, "Master, if this continues, little Eighth might die." "I don't want to repeat myself." Yu's calm voice echoed in the void, carrying a coldness that was impossible to ignore. "Yes, master." Thorns gritted her teeth, a determined look appearing on her face. Boom, with an even greater suction, the last remnants of Tundra's blood were drawn out, leaving only his increasingly pale, corpse-like body, swaying on the verge of collapse. Master, sensing the approaching death, Tundra weakly lifted his head, looking towards Yu with sorrow and reluctance to part in his eyes. "You will be okay," Yu's soft whisper echoed in Tundra's heart, as though offering comfort. However, just moments later, Tundra's body shuddered violently as a sharp pain surged from his chest. Slowly lowering his head, he saw a blood-stained heart before him, with the mysterious Yen gripping it in his claws, his expression chillingly cold. Tundra was filled with disbelief, yet the undeniable truth lay right before his eyes. Suddenly, Tundra's vitality began to drain away as a bone-chilling cold enveloped Tundra from the inside out. It was the presence of death. Tundra knew, he was about to die, truly die. His heart had been ripped out, how could there still be any life left? At this moment, Tundra thought about many things. He remembered the days when he teamed up with his seventh brother to explore the polar glaciers and the battles he fought alongside his fourth brother on the battlefield. However, despite all these memories, Tundra felt not a single ounce of resentment. His life had been a gift from his master. Without his master, he would have remained a mere Tier 2 or Tier 3 beast. How could he have gained sentience? How could he have reached Tier 4? This was the unwavering loyalty of the mutant beast that had followed Yu from the very beginning, simple and pure, to a level that was almost unimaginable. Knowing this, how could Yu ever allow Tundra to truly die? However, replacing one's bloodline was easier than done. If it were just a matter of removing all the blood, and only needed thorns to drain it, why would such a procedure carry a 1% survival rate, or even certain death? The key was that the heart had to be replaced as well. Even an ordinary person knew that the heart played a huge role in the circulation and generation of blood. Without replacing the heart, the blood replacement would be incomplete. That was why Yu had Lien extract Tundra's heart, effectively taking Tundra's life. At this moment, Tundra was really dead. His body was devoid of any signs of life. His once bright eyes were slowly fading into a dull, lifeless gray. Tundra, Old Eighth. One heart-wrenching cry after another filled the air as thorns, along with the onlookers, Nine Tails, Bull Demon, and the others stared in shock. They could not believe what they were seeing. Some, driven by impulsiveness, had bloodshot eyes, glaring fiercely at Zi Lian, who had pulled out Tundra's heart. They did not dare blame their master, but Zi Lian, who had taken Tundra's life, was right in front of their eyes. However, before Thorns or the others could do anything, boom, a fearsome aura suddenly erupted as Tundra's carcass was lifted by an invisible force before everyone's eyes. At the same time, purple blood came pouring down from the sky, submerging Tundra's dried carcass within it. Under the control of this invisible force, the purple blood started flowing into Tundra, filling up his dried body within a few breaths. But even then, Tundra remained completely lifeless. Dead. Truly dead. Master, why? Suddenly, a voice inquired. Turning to look, it was Old Third, White Tiger. His eyes, completely red, as he voiced the question on everyone's mind. Replacing the bloodline is not as simple as you think. Even a 1% survival rate was an exaggeration. In truth, it's a certain path to doom. As Yu's voice echoed through the void, White Tiger and the others froze. But after a moment, staring at Tundra's carcass, White Tiger gritted his teeth in defiance and asked again, "Then why, Master, just why did you still proceed with the blood replacement for Old Eighth? Wasn't he fine as he was? Even if Old Eighth was a bit weaker, it wouldn't have mattered. We would have taken care of him, would have protected him." White Tiger's voice trembled with each word, as if on the verge of crying. Of all the 10 divine beasts, none were more impulsive than White Tiger. Still, the one who values emotions and kinship the most was also White Tiger. Who would have thought that White Tiger, hailed by the world as the Storm King and the embodiment of disaster, was actually the most caring among the 10 divine beasts? It was somewhat ironic, and a little amusing. However, right now, White Tiger's eyes were glistening with tears for the first time. Yet, his tears only received silence, complete silence. Even Yu remained silent. After all, it was rare to see White Tiger shed tears. Moreover, this unique atmosphere was a kind of mental and physical cleansing for the other divine beasts, tempering their minds and souls. Otherwise, Yu would not have allowed them to witness this. To be honest, Yu was meticulous to the extreme. He was even using such emotional moments to temper the will of the many divine beasts, as well as the elemental generals. Only by experiencing life and death could their state of mind reach new heights. This was Yu's true plan, and it appeared to be working, quite well. At the very least, Yu could see that each familiar face was expressing genuine emotion. Even Qin Gang was gritting his teeth, watching the scene in disbelief. It's about time. Speaking to himself in his heart, Yu's eyes gleamed as he looked toward Tundra's lifeless body. If he did not bring Tundra back soon, it might cause unwanted complications. So, it was time for him to bring the curtain down on the entire thing. As for saving Tundra, as a Tier 6 transcendent, known as Immortal Tree, whose primary root had transformed into an azure dragon, if he could not revive his own subordinate, it would be really laughable. Moreover, he was not just going to save him, he was going to rebuild Tundra's foundation. However, this required Yu to part with a priceless treasure. But after some thought, Yu suppressed his reluctance. In his eyes, Tundra's life was far more valuable to any kind of treasure. Besides, Yu believed that Tundra would repay him tenfold in the future. As these thoughts flashed in his mind, a powerful surge of spiritual energy broke out from Yu with a thunderous boom, shaking even the void itself. Moments later, in the astonished eyes of Nine Tails, Bull Demon, and the others, a green orb resembling a heart appeared in the air. It was the tree heart, a supreme treasure nurtured by Yu, essentially his second life, filled with boundless vitality. With Yu's advancement to Tier 6, this supreme treasure had also reached Tier 6 in terms of quality. Among its many abilities, what made it a true supreme treasure was its ability to bring the dead back to life. It could revive any life form below Tier 6, as long as their soul remained. Each resurrection only drained a large portion of the tree heart's energy, which could still be restored over time. However, now, this priceless tree heart transformed into a streak of green light, shooting straight towards Tundra. Whoosh! Zooming through space, it instantly arrived before Tundra, and the moment it came in contact with Tundra's body, it dissolved instantly, erupting with a dazzling green glow, as radiant as a star. At the same time, one could faintly sense an endless vitality surging through Tundra's body. Tundra, today I bestow upon you a second life with this Tier 6 treasure, cherish it well. Yu's grand voice reverberated through the void, with the tree heart slowly emerging within Tundra's chest. Thump, 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 a series of powerful heartbeats echoed as the green heart formed with the tree heart intertwined with the blood of the Titan clan, pulsing together. The emerald heart pumped so powerfully that the blood coursing through his veins sounded like rivers flowing. As the purple Titan blood circulated through Tundra's veins, a purple hue slowly began to seep into his body, starting from the veins and becoming visible to the naked eye. Particularly when the blood flowed past the emerald green heart, an inexplicable green hue began to tint it. It was corruption. The boundless vitality of the tree heart was corrupting the Titan bloodline. However, this was not a bad thing. Vitality, aside from when facing certain dark energies, was the greatest supplement to other energies. Visible to the naked eye, the purple blood, after passing through the green heart, became even more saturated with vitality. Until, thump, thump, the heartbeats resounded like thunder. Even the nearby mutant beasts could hear it. It was so strong, so deafening. It felt as though an incredibly powerful entity was awakening from slumber. Even the void trembled with an indescribable pressure. At that moment, suddenly, a long trumpet echoed through the realm of void as Tundra's trunk lifted high into the void and his massive body began to tremble. Crack, crack, sounds of bones cracking echoed one after another, as his massive body began to expand further at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths, he had grown several times larger, reaching a colossal size of 4 to 5 kilometers. At a glance, he resembled a prehistoric beast, rising from the earth. Yet, this was not the end. Boom! With a sudden roar, countless torrents of purple energy came rolling in, pouring into Tundra's body. This was void energy. Though Yu had replaced Tundra's bloodline with that of the Titan clan, the truth was, this bloodline came from Yu's soaring purple flood dragon. Yu's soaring purple flood dragon possessed the most unique Titan bloodline, for it had merged with the power of void, allowing it to draw energy from the void itself. Although Tundra could not fully fuse with this bloodline just yet, and had absorbed only 10 to 20% of it, it still allowed him to siphon a portion of void energy, which was already an immense fortune. And this was the terrifying aspect of a Tier 6 transcendent like Yu. He could fully reshape an ordinary Tier 4. Another trumpet echoed, creating a massive shockwave which sent ripples after ripples in all directions, like waves in the ocean. Tundra's aura rose from 0 to this level, and grew stronger by the second. Presently, his aura had reached Tier 4, and was rapidly climbing. Mid-Tier 4. Peak Tier 4. Until, a sharp crack echoed. Demigod, murmurs spread as strong transcendents like Nine Tails and Bull Demon stared in disbelief at the figure in the void, trumpeting toward the sky. Shrouded in green, with his trunk curled high, Tundra's body continued to grow at an alarming rate. This was the current Tundra. Or more precisely, the Titan Mammoth. Suddenly, a deep trumpet resounded, signaling the return of Tundra's consciousness. In the distance, the towering mammoth respectfully lowered his head. "Master, I have no way to repay you," came the voice of Tundra, trembling with emotion. He had thought he was dead, but unexpectedly, his master had used a heaven-defying method to resurrect him and even rebuild his foundation. Currently, Tundra could feel himself growing stronger at every moment. Even just the simple act of breathing seemed to draw an endless amount of void energy into his body. More importantly, his heart was continuously pumping with inexhaustible vitality. This was a true miracle. As long as he did not completely deplete the vitality in his heart, his growth would never stop. However, would the vitality in that heart ever truly be exhausted? Feeling the unimaginable, terrifying vitality coursing through him, Tundra found it doubtful. "This is what you deserve." A calm voice echoed through the void, as Wuxia took a deep look at the current Tundra, impressed. "Not bad. Not bad at all." Tundra's transformation had exceeded his expectations. With the tree heart as his heart, pumping endless vitality, and the Titan bloodline as the catalyst, Tundra's body was growing endlessly. Moreover, he could also absorb void energy. What did that mean? It did not need any explanation. Just by looking at the gargantuan mammoth before him, Wuxia understood that before long, a colossal creature would emerge in the solar system, one that could carry stars on his back. Treading the void, with his trunk raised to heaven, it would carry stars on his back, where countless lives would take root, thrive, and grow. This was a walking world, a terrifyingly powerful creature. At that time, Wuxia could even dispatch entire armies on Tundra's back. From then on, Tundra, the eighth divine beast of misty mountains, could transform into the most fearsome starship, leading legions in a war against the myriad races in the universe. Wuxia could vividly picture it. He could not help but admit that this was exactly what he had hoped for. A Titan mammoth, with a sheepish chuckle, Wuxia once again turned his gaze toward Tundra, who was standing respectfully not far away, and instructed with a smile, "Focus on fully integrating your current power. From the looks of it, you've only merged about 40% of the bloodline. That's still far from enough." "Yes, Master," Tundra responded respectfully, his expression filled with excitement. "I just have to do my best to integrate with it completely. I absolutely cannot disappoint Master's expectations." At that moment, as if thinking something, Tundra turned to look at the familiar figures gazing at him. They were the same faces, but most of them were filled with disbelief, even struggling to digest what they just saw. That was understandable. Wuxia's methods were so heaven-defying that it was no wonder White Tiger and the others found it hard to believe. However, that did not matter. The truth was right before them. Taking a long, deep breath, Tundra looked at his brothers and sisters and shouted at the top of his voice, "Brothers, I'm back." A trumpeting roar, truly like the shout of a god or devil, shook the entire realm of void. And all this was because, in just a short time, Tundra had grown to a colossal size of 10,000 meters, becoming an inexplicable huge giant. Even Nine Tails, White Tiger, and the others appeared like mere specks of dust in his gaze. My goodness, Old Eighth is really back. And the way he's come back is beyond terrifying. White Tiger, Bull Demon, and the others exchanged looks, their expressions becoming increasingly strange. What on earth is going on? Growing by a foot by day and a yard by night was already terrifying enough. However now, their eighth brother was growing at a rapid pace that could not be described in words alone. At this moment, no one knew that the legendary divine elephant, destined to walk upon the rivers of stars, would be born right here. Well, perhaps not, no one knew. If one were to glance at a mysterious, pitch-black bird hidden in the corner, they would surely notice the deep shock in her eyes. It was Demonic Phoenix, the commander of the Sky Legion, and a creature with the power to glimpse into the future. Right now, though it was just a fleeting moment, she had seen a glimpse of the future. She saw countless stars gathering into a disk, forming a glowing band in the depths of the cosmos. This band stood a colossal figure, roaring toward heaven. Standing upon the starry river, this colossal figure appeared no different than a god or a devil. And that colossal being bore a striking resemblance, about 40 to 50%, to the eighth great one standing before her. If the eighth great one does not perish prematurely, his future potential will be limitless. Murmuring to herself, demonic Phoenix suppressed the shock in her heart. As the future was full of infinite variables, what she had glimpsed was one of the countless possibilities of the future. There was no guarantee that it would come to pass. Thus, the demonic Phoenix could only make a rough judgment of the eighth great one's potential. As for anything else, unfortunately, demonic Phoenix did not know, and nor did she dare to pry. For someone like her, who could glimpse the future, the more she knew, the more dangerous it was for her. Unless absolutely necessary, she preferred not to peek into others' futures. Of course, the eighth great one was just a rare exception. It was only a fleeting feeling that prompted her to catch a brief glimpse. Even so, demonic Phoenix already felt a mountain weighing down on her chest. Fortunately, the eighth great one held no ill will toward her. Otherwise, just the vision she had witnessed would have been enough to severely injure her. At that moment, as if sensing something, the distant tundra cast a thoughtful glance toward the corner where demonic Phoenix was at. Just now, a strange feeling had surfaced in his heart. Shaking his head, Tundra chose not to pursue it. Demonic Phoenix has always been mysterious. It's not unusual for her to possess strange abilities. At this moment, a majestic voice suddenly echoed in everyone's ears, "Everyone disperse. Tundra, go rest. Oh, and Titan, stay behind." "Yes, Master," in unison, Nine Tails, Bull Demon, and the others respectfully responded and began to withdraw. Their master's orders were absolute. Besides, with Tundra's resurrection, this chapter had come to a perfect conclusion, and there was no need to linger any longer. However, noticing something, the mutant beasts could not help but cast envious glances at the seventh great one, Titan. They reckoned that their master had another reward in store for him. Swish, swish, one after another, the sounds of space being torn open echoed as the many mutant beasts ripped through space, returning to their various small worlds. As core members of Misty Mountains, most of them had been given keys by Wuxia, allowing them to open the door to these small worlds. Of course, these keys were temporary, and if necessary, Wuxia could seal the entrances to these small worlds with a single thought. Not long after the mutant beasts departed, Wuxia slowly lifted his gaze and beheld a terrifying creature standing 100 meters tall. Its dragon-like tail lashed through the void like a steel whip. Though its head resembled that of a dragon, it lacked the regal presence of the dragon clan, instead exuding pure savagery. Its forelimbs, raised and armed with long, sharp claws akin to lances wielded by European knights, emanated a formidable and terrifying aura. This was the Pteranodon, the seventh divine beast of Misty Mountains. A prehistoric tyrant, whose strength rivaled that of the Tyrannosaurus rex, the king of dinosaurs. However, his current strength was only at the early stage of Tier 4. Even with his formidable physique, he could contend with mid-stage or late-stage Tier 4 opponents at best. Though at the same level, Titan's combat strength was not weak, it could even be considered powerful. But there was one unfortunate problem: his progress was too slow. If he could advance faster, reaching the mid-stage or late stage of Tier 4, Wuxia would not have asked him to stay. The biggest reason for this was Titan's low affinity for spiritual energy, making him poor at cultivation. He excelled at battle but not in cultivation. Helpless, Wuxia couldn't help but heave a sigh. Had it been any other era, this would not have been a problem. But now, it was the beginning of the spiritual energy resurgence. The speed of cultivation determined access to resources and more. After all, no matter how fearsome his combat abilities were, he could not defeat a Tier 5 Transcendent with his Tier 4 body. Thus, Titan could afford to have slightly weaker combat power at the same level, but his cultivation couldn't lag behind. Considering all this, Yu Ziyu's gaze became focused as a determined look blanketed his face. Desperate times call for desperate measures. I have to boost Titan's cultivation without harming his foundation. Master, Titan called out in a thunderous voice. Realizing why Yu Ziyu had asked him to stay behind, he felt a pang of despondency. He understood that his own strength was insufficient, and that his master was about to offer him a shortcut, which felt somewhat dishonorable to him. However, Yu Ziyu did not care about such things. Instead, his tone grew serious as he asked, Titan, at your current pace, how long do you estimate it will take to break through to mid-stage of Tier 4? Mid-stage Tier 4, where one possessed 30 to 60 million spiritual energy, required a deeper mastery of one's own strength. Titan hesitated for a moment, the corner of his jaws twitching slightly. Finally, he answered, at my current pace, it will probably take at least 2 to 3 years, or at most 5 to 6 years. Hearing Titan's answer, a pang of frustration filled Yu Ziyu. Titan's cultivation speed was really slow. Even though most of Titan's spiritual energy was used to refine his body, this was still too slow. At least, compared to the many prodigies of Misty Mountains. For instance, Little Tenth took just 2 months to advance from early to mid-stage Tier 4. Nine Tails took less than 3 months. Even the slower Bull Demon managed it in a year and a half. And Titan? It had already been a year since he had reached Tier 4, and now he still needed another 2 to 3 years to break through. All in all, he would take 3 to 4 years to do the same, and this was with more than sufficient resources. Okay, Yu Ziyu responded in a bit of a resigned voice. But the next moment, he felt relieved. Luckily, I've a pretty good treasure in hand. With this treasure, cultivation would at least not be a shackle for Titan. It might even be possible for Titan to ascend rapidly, just like Tundra. It's time to bring you out, Yu Ziyu murmured to himself as his branch swirled through the void. In just a moment, it pulled out a spherical object covered in countless silver patterns from inside his trunk. The Steel Elemental Heart. It was a secret treasure of the Elemental Clan. Its status was no less than the Tree of Life of the Elf Clan or the Divine Eye of the Three Eyes Divine Clan. Circling within Yu Ziyu's trunk alongside Yu Ziyu's tree heart all this while, the Steel Elemental Heart had gradually advanced from Tier 4 to Tier 6 in grade. This was the second high-quality treasure Yu Ziyu had cultivated with his own power. At present, besides his Tao-protecting artifact, the Radiant Galaxy, Yu Ziyu's most prized treasures were the Tier 6 Tree Heart and the Tier 6 Steel Elemental Heart. Now, the Tree Heart was gone, and the Steel Elemental Heart, which revolved alongside it, like yin and yang in a Tai Chi formation, should also cease to exist. Yu Ziyu took a long, deep breath. Observing how this supreme treasure almost transformed the space around it into metal as it floated in the air, he asked with a smile, do you have the confidence to control this treasure? Titan's expression froze slightly as he stared at the strange object in the void, giving off a metallic aura, a hint of confusion crossing his face. He did not understand. He simply had no idea what this was. However, he had a feeling that it was something extremely terrifying. Just then, a voice echoed in the void, seemingly offering an explanation. In the previous era, the top 10 superior clans each had their own supreme treasures, and the supreme treasure of the Elemental Clan was the Elemental Heart. Each Elemental Heart is akin to a mighty being. After reaching Tier 4, the elemental generals like Qin Gang and Aisha would be reborn into innate elementals and condense their own elemental heart. However, apart from the usual elements like ice, fire, light, and dark, the Elemental Clan had a unique element, steel. And this is the Steel Elemental Heart, capable of transforming a person into a metallic life form, pausing for a moment, Yuziyu glanced at Titan and then shifted the tone of his words. However, the transformation into a metallic life form comes with a cost, the most terrifying of which is the gradual loss of emotions, making one increasingly cold and indifferent. Listening quietly, a look of understanding appeared on Titan's face. After a moment, as if something came to mind, Titan grinned and asked, "Master, how does the Elemental Clan compare to the Titan Clan?" The Titan Clan is ranked 7th among the top 10 superior clans, and the Elemental Clan is ranked 8th. However, while the top 10 superior clans have rankings, the strength of each member at the same level do not differ by much. At this, Yuziyu seemed to realize something and smiled playfully. "But Old Eighth's bloodline is not your typical Titan bloodline, but from what you've said, Master, this steel elementals are not ordinary elementals either." Excited, Titan's corners of jaw drew back into a wide grin. "Yes, the steel elementals are indeed extraordinary. They are the most mysterious branch of the Elemental Clan," Yuziyu admitted with a nod. However, after a moment, his eyes narrowed, and he cautioned, "But you must understand, this is a Tier 6 steel elemental heart. If you fuse with it, the most likely outcome is becoming a cold, metal statue, with your very soul forever imprisoned in darkness. So, if you really want to control this steel elemental heart, you must look for Tundra. Only the boundless vitality flowing through him can suppress your transformation into metal." Speaking softly, Yuziyu's voice carried a hint of gravity. After all, fusing with the steel elemental heart was no trivial matter. However, such a fusion was beyond his ability to interfere with. Everything depended on Titan's fortune. Still, thinking of Tundra, Yuziyu felt reassured. The tree heart beating within Tundra was the yin in Tai Chi, while the steel elemental heart was the yang. With yin and yang circulating together, the possibility of Titan successfully fusing with the steel elemental heart greatly increased. At that time, Yuziyu would finally witness the true rise of a being known as the Tyrant. Listening to Yuziyu's repeated warnings, Titan slowly gained clarity. "I understand, Master." Responding, Titan lifted one claw and fiercely grabbed toward the steel elemental heart floating in the void. Crack, crack, with a series of crisp sounds, a cold and dark sheen started spreading along Titan's right claw, metallizing his claw. Along with this transformation came a significant increase in hardness. The moment his claw became metallic, Titan felt his defense increasing several times over. Still, that was not the end, as an even more terrifying power surged within him. However, seemingly realizing something, Titan's pupils shrunk as he looked at his metallized right claw. "Even my sense of feeling is gone," Titan could not help but sigh in his heart, realizing that his sense of touch, pain, and other sensations in his right claw were rapidly weakening, even vanishing entirely. Exhaling deeply to suppress the strange feeling gushing in his chest, Titan gritted his teeth and slowly lifted his now stiffened body. Boom! With a deafening clap, the increased weight of his body shattered the space beneath him. At that moment, Titan realized it was not just his right claw, both his feet had also begun to metallize. This was a sensation akin to petrification, but far more terrifying. "Go now. If you fully metallize before reaching Tundra, even a sage might not be able to save you. This is my life or death test for you." "Yes, Master." Biting down hard, feeling his body being relentlessly corroded, a crazed look appeared on Titan's face. In fact, Titan found it exhilarating. Each step he took could very well mean the difference between life and death, and in that precarious balance, great fortune awaited. Thud, 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 one step after another, Titan dragged his increasingly heavy body towards the nearby entrance of a green vortex. At the far end of that green vortex, Tundra, a terrifying mammoth, nearly 10,000 meters tall, who had already received notice, watched Titan with a face full of worry. Yuziyu enjoyed playing thrilling games. However, these games were always under his control. Even now, if Titan were to fully metallize, Wuxia had ways to bring him back. The reason for making such statements was to quicken Titan's heartbeat, serving as a way to temper his mind. In this regard, Wuxia truly was an excellent, though ruthless, teacher. Actually, he more than lived up to the title of mentor than teacher. In succession, he had bestowed treasures upon Titan and Tundra, nurturing them and even reconstructing their foundations. Now, without a doubt, Tundra, who possessed Wuxia's unique Titan bloodline in his tree heart, had limitless potential. As for Titan, if he could successfully fuse with the steel elemental heart, he would be able to elementalize at will, and even undergo his second atavism. This would result in a qualitative leap. By that time, the 10 divine beasts under Wuxia's command would all be considered gifted prodigies, able to compete with the prodigies of the myriad races of the universe without falling behind. Certain individuals, like Nine-Tails or Sarcosuchus, could even be described as exceptional prodigies or stars that would shake the entire universe. At the thought of this, Wuxia couldn't help but chuckle, feeling a sense of pride. These are my creations. And as they gradually grow stronger, my future foundation will become even stronger. Just then, a voice suddenly echoed in the void, interrupting Wuxia. Master, you're truly generous. Along with the voice, the space rippled as a glimmer of starlight appeared. Upon closer inspection, it was a golden monkey, shrunk dozens or even hundreds of times. However, sensing Wuxia's strange gaze, the golden monkey's body began to enlarge. In just a moment, a 2-meter-tall figure with dazzling golden fur, exuding an extraordinary aura, emerged. It was Golden Monkey, one of Wuxia's most mysterious subordinates and also one of his most trusted confidants. Golden Monkey had been in seclusion in the realm of life for the past 2 years. Today marked his first exit in 2 years. As Wuxia carefully observed Golden Monkey, a smile tugged at the corner of his lips. It seems your time in seclusion has paid off. Wuxia could not help but praise Golden Monkey in admiration. Surprisingly, Golden Monkey had stepped into Tier 5, becoming a true god. He was the second true god of Misty Mountains, and in terms of combat power, the third true god after Nine-Tails and Sarcosuchus. Upon hearing Wuxia's praise, Golden Monkey respectfully cupped his hands and stated, "Thanks to Master's care." Golden Monkey, filled with gratitude, further added, "Master, if you hadn't granted me a sliver of the quintessence of world during the ascension of the 9 small worlds, I would not have been able to become a true god in just 2 short years." Enough of that. Shaking his head, Wuxia interrupted, "You've helped me a lot. Looking after you is only right. Besides, with your talents, becoming a true god was just a matter of time." Well, sheepishly laughing, Golden Monkey promptly closed his mouth. Indeed, with his abilities, becoming a true god had only been a matter of time. After all, the key to Tier 5 lay in grasping the secrets of the soul. He was naturally gifted with ancient wisdom, carrying the legacy of the previous era. Tier 5 was just a matter of time and effort. For him, the real challenge lay in reaching Tier 6 and eventually Tier 7. Setting Tier 7 aside, Tier 6 was where the body and soul merge perfectly, evolving toward a perfect life form. For those who had awakened memories of past lives or were reincarnated souls from previous eras, this presented a significant challenge. After all, their souls did not originally belong to this era. Every cause has an effect, and gains and losses go hand in hand. Nothing in this world is flawless. Even with an ancient legacy, how much did it truly matter? The real tribulations still lay ahead, waiting for them. At this moment, Golden Monkey glanced deeply at Titan, who was walking toward the vortex entrance, and the colossal mammoth patiently waiting. With a narrowed gaze, he stated with a sigh, "Meeting Master was truly an extraordinary stroke of fortune for old 7th and old 8th, fortune." "You think so?" Wuxia was surprised, his voice filled with doubt. "Of course. Without meeting you, how could they have obtained such treasures at Tier 4? Both the tree heart and the steel elemental heart are the rarest of treasures, the likes of which even hegemons cannot get. As the golden monkey spoke, a hint of envy appeared on his face. This is still the current era. Had it been the previous one, setting aside the tree heart that Master has nurtured, the appearance of a treasure like the steel elemental heart would have ignited a war among the hegemons. More importantly, the elemental clan would have mobilized their entire race. As one of the top 10 superior clans, they boasted an immensely solid foundation, with numerous hegemons among them. If such a clan had fully mobilized, countless planes would have descended into chaos. It is only fortunate that the era has changed, and the elemental clan no longer wields its former majesty. Thinking of this, a glimmer of anticipation shone in the golden monkey's eyes. This was the real reason he had chosen to follow Wuxia. Gaining a single step of advantage, Master would always remain ahead. With the Master's unique destiny, it's entirely possible that before other races fully rise up, he would have already grown into an unstoppable force. By then, the entire universe would fall to its knees before him. All the races in the universe would become his hunting grounds. That would mean resources, treasures, limitless in number. In such a situation, not only can Master reach the Eternal Realm, but even I might have a chance of achieving Eternal Realm. Taking a deep breath, Golden Monkey suppressed his excitement and once again calmed his expression. He turned to Wuxia and asked, "Master, what's your plan now?" "My plan?" Wuxia's lips curled into a faint smile as he answered, "After stabilizing Earth and Alicia, I plan to visit the various star domains. Rumor had it that several races have begun to rise." "That's true." Nodding in agreement, Golden Monkey added, "Given the current trend, it's normal for some races to rise. But I can't wait to see their faces when they realize you've already reached Tier 6 in a time where even Tier 5 is rare." Ha ha ha. At this, Golden Monkey couldn't help but laugh heartily. Leaving all else aside, we have truly begun to rise. Given Master's current strength, he could easily sweep through star domains. Pondering this, Golden Monkey, unable to contain his excitement, eagerly suggested, "Master, if possible, you should definitely visit certain star domains and seize their imperial artifacts." Imperial artifacts? Wuxia raised a curious brow, momentarily stunned. "Yes, imperial artifacts." Golden Monkey's eyes gleamed with a sharp light as he nodded. Imperial artifacts, also known as Extreme Dao Imperial artifacts, are the exclusive armaments of Eternals. These artifacts are like slumbering Eternals themselves, possessing immeasurable power, but didn't you say that artifacts from the previous era couldn't exist in this one? Wuxia asked in bewilderment, still trying to make sense of it. Ordinary artifacts, indeed, cannot survive the shift between epochs. Even extreme Dao artifacts of hegemons struggle to endure the end of an era. Golden Monkey explained, but imperial artifacts are different. They are imbued with the Daos and principles of Eternals. And not just any Eternal can forge these artifacts. The masters of these imperial artifacts are not ordinary Eternals either, they were mighty experts even among their peers, existing on a level beyond other Eternals. While their weapons may not have survived fully intact into this era, they could still exist in a dormant state, as remnants or even be reborn. In any case, each of them possesses the means to make a return in this era. After a brief pause, Golden Monkey glanced at Wuxia and actively posed a question, "Master, do you know how many Eternals and how many Extreme Dao Imperial artifacts there were in the previous era?" "I have no idea," Wuxia admitted, looking completely puzzled. This was new territory for him. In the previous era, known as the Immortal Martial Era, cultivation had reached its pinnacle. Over countless millennia, 17 Eternals were born, but there were as many as 33 Extreme Dao Imperial artifacts. What? Wuxia was momentarily stunned. 17 Eternals, and yet there were 33 Imperial artifacts, artifacts exclusive to Eternals. Is this some kind of joke? Unless, as the realization dawned, Yu's eyes flickered with understanding. You mean to say that some of these Imperial artifacts didn't originate from the last era? Exactly, Master. You're quick to catch on. Golden Monkey chuckled, and continued, no longer holding back. Truthfully, only 2 extreme Dao Imperial artifacts were actually forged in the last era. One was the 9 Cauldrons of Universe, an artifact of the human race that suppressed the dragon vein of 9 continents, and laid the foundation for countless generations. It was the reason the human race earned the title of the first clan in history, in that era. The second was the Lance of Longinus, the eternal artifact of the King of Gods. Crafted from the branches of the world tree, anyone struck by it would have their body and soul pierced through. It's said to be a weapon governed by the principles of causality. That artifact is truly terrifying. Yu's expression shifted as he listened intently. These artifacts were indeed terrifying, even just hearing about them sent chills down his spine. However, after a moment of contemplation, Yu asked, so, aside from these 2 artifacts, the others come from an even earlier eras? To be precise, they are relics passed down through countless epochs. It's said that the oldest of these extreme Dao Imperial artifacts, the Tai Chi diagram, was forged by the first and the greatest expert of the Taoist sect, the one who created the grand divine ability 1 Qi transforms into 3 pure ones. That great being existed at least tens of epochs ago. Explaining this, Golden Monkey could not help but sigh in admiration. Those mighty experts were truly terrifying. Even though they perished at the end of their epochs, their artifacts, engraved with their personal Tao, still remain to this day. At this point, Golden Monkey seemed to remember something and added, however, Master, there's no need to worry. In their current state, none of these extreme Dao Imperial artifacts are complete. To put it simply, even if they exist in this era, they're like artifacts in human skin, requiring cultivation and nourishment to regain their power. Right now, not to mention their original eternal level strength, they would struggle to even reach Tier 6. Furthermore, activating these weapons demands immense energy. Using a single Imperial artifact could drain the spiritual energy of an entire star domain. Golden Monkey's explanations gradually dispelled Yu's earlier concerns. No wonder you suggested I seize these Imperial artifacts, Yu chuckled in realization. Strike when they're weak and take advantage of their sickness. In this new era of cultivation, even the extreme Dao Imperial artifacts had not fully awakened. At best, they had regained a fraction, perhaps 1/10,000,000th, of their original power. Such opportunities were exceedingly rare throughout all of history. If one could seize an eternal Imperial artifact during this time and claim it as their own, the potential for securing one's future would be immense. It seems Master understands my point. Golden Monkey remarked, a grin tugging at his lips, his eyes glowing with anticipation. Extreme Dao Imperial artifacts were something he had not dared to even dream of in his previous life. But now, following Yu, the idea of obtaining one had taken root in his heart. No, I mustn't be too greedy, he thought, though his face betrayed his excitement. He raised a hand, drawing a map of the stars with starlight in the void, specifically, the one Yu had once given him. The map showed the Titan star domain and the Angel star domain, located near the Milky Way. With a sweeping gesture, Golden Monkey highlighted both regions using radiant beams of light. Master, the reason the top 10 superior clans are known as such is not only because their members far surpass those of other races in terms of combat strength at the same level. More importantly, each of the top 10 superior clans possesses an extreme Dao Imperial artifact that has secured their dominance throughout the ages. The Titans, for example, are said to possess the Crown of Titan God, a legendary artifact that can amplify strength and physique dozens, if not hundreds, of times without any side effects. If the crown of Titan God truly exists in this era, it will undoubtedly be hidden in the deepest vaults of the Titan clan. And the Angel clan, well, their reputation precedes them. The 12 holy wings have echoed through history as a symbol of unparalleled speed. This artifact is the greatest treasure of the Angel clan, their most unshakable foundation. One must understand, ordinary angels have only 6 wings, with very few exceptions reaching 12. The 12 holy wings, however, can bestow upon its chosen wielder wings far exceeding their natural bloodline, elevating them to the status of the next angel king, an angel born with the 12 wings. As Wuxia quietly listened, his eyes could not help but flicker with excitement. For the first time, the notion of an extreme Tao imperial artifact had truly captured his attention. The crown of Titan gods, 12 holy wings, muttering to himself, a look of longing appeared on Wuxia's face. These are what real treasures should be like. Compared to them, the items I have pales in comparison. As these thoughts flashed in his mind, Wuxia straightforwardly stated, if we get the chance, we should consider going after some of these extreme Tao imperial artifacts. Golden Monkey broke into laughter. Noticing the eagerness on Wuxia's face, he knew that his words had clearly hit their mark. After all, those are extreme Tao imperial artifacts. Any powerful expert, who knows of them, would certainly be tempted. More importantly, we actually stand a chance of obtaining one, considering Master's current strength. But just as Golden Monkey was lost in thought, a voice suddenly echoed in his ears, Golden Monkey, since you've just come out of seclusion, it's time to bring back the one stationed on Earth. Master means. A flash of understanding crossed Golden Monkey's eyes, as he realized what this entailed. It's time to consolidate our forces. Saying this, Wuxia turned his gaze toward Earth. On that beautiful blue planet, there was a young girl sitting in a dim light, waiting for him. Ling Er. It's been a while, murmuring softly, a wave of nostalgia hit Wuxia. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Supreme Council, a collective union of countless forces, was established today. With 16 members at its core, they collectively determined the future direction of Earth. Although various forces still developed independently, when facing the vastness of space and the forces beyond the stars, the Supreme Council functioned as a single entity. Their first coordinated action, an expedition in the alien world, marked the Supreme Council's maiden operation. Numerous forces, led by the 16 members, stepped through the Stargate and ventured into the alien world. As a matter of fact, many of the Council members were acquainted with Misty Mountains. The first member was none other than Nine Tails of Misty Mountains, the most influential power on Earth, and naturally the first seat in the Supreme Council. The second member was the Master of Magnetism of America, who also happened to be one of Wuxia's apostles, Magneto. The fourth member was Empress Ling Er. The 12th member was another of Wuxia's apostles, the Master of Flames, Aisha. Even the third member, the President of China, leaned towards Misty Mountains. In truth, one could say that, unbeknownst to many, Earth had already fallen under the indirect control of Misty Mountains. And this was largely due to Ling Er's strategic brilliance. With unmatched diplomacy, she unified various forces, turning them into a single entity. Her methods far exceeded what others could imagine. Though many powerful figures on Earth had vaguely noticed her hand in everything, they seldom mentioned this to anyone, or even brought her name. Yet at that moment, no one knew that on the balcony of a small, elegant pavilion, a young girl was standing, gazing into the starry sky. Amid the gentle night breeze and faint rain, she could vaguely make out the outline of a massive tree in the depths of the stars. The girl was breathtakingly beautiful, dressed in her signature red attire. On her earlobes, she wore a pair of exquisite earrings, one in the shape of a flood dragon and the other a serpent. At a glance, she was extremely captivating. However, as one's gaze shifted downward, taking in her unparalleled beauty, her long, swan-like neck, and her fair, delicate skin, it was hard for any man not to feel a ripple in his heart. This was the renowned Empress, Ling Er. Though 2 years had passed, her charm remained undiminished. In fact, she had gained a touch of maturity. Yet at this moment, as she gazed at the starry sky, quietly staring at the silhouette of that giant tree in the distance, her body trembled slightly, as if she had heard something. "You've had it hard, Ling Er," a familiar voice echoed in her heart. Suddenly, the space rippled gently as a vibrant green branch emerged from the depths of the starry sky, stopping right in front of Ling Er. "Mas, Ter," her voice filled with surprise. Ling Er covered her mouth in disbelief. "Come up. I'll take you to where you're meant to be." Yu's gentle voice resounded in her mind again. "Is it really okay?" In a rare moment of hesitation, Ling Er glanced back at the pavilion, at Flame City, and the vast land beyond. Having spent so much time and effort on this, she was reluctant to leave it behind, but this was her master's invitation. Sensing Ling Er's reluctance, Yu assured her, "Don't worry. I'll arrange for someone to take over everything you've built. You've already done more than enough. From now on, your most important task is cultivation. You've been so caught up in worldly matters that your cultivation has fallen behind." With a tone filled with guilt, Yu admitted his remorse. All this while, he had tasked Ling Er with handling countless menial affairs and strategizing for Earth, but had unintentionally neglected her cultivation. Only now did Yu realize that Ling Er's cultivation was merely at the mid-stage of Tier 4. While such cultivation was impressive on Earth, it was insignificant in the vast universe. Given her talent and resources, Ling Er should have progressed much further by now. She must have taken my instructions to heart, tirelessly planning and strategizing, and putting her cultivation aside. Heaving a sigh, Yu did not hesitate any longer. The branch gently coiled around Ling Er's slender figure, softly lifting her. With a slight pull, Ling Er floated upward towards the stars, her robes fluttering in the wind. The entire picture resembled the legendary feat of Chang'e ascending to the moon. At that moment, a vast voice suddenly echoed across Earth, "Very soon, Golden Monkey from Misty Mountains will descend to take command of Misty Mountains." Boom! The minds of countless denizens on Earth shook as all eyes turned upward. For a brief moment, they were greeted with the sight of a colossal tree's shadow, vast enough to cover the entire sky of Earth, shimmering like starlight. It was immense and awe-inspiring, divine and extraordinary. The divine tree. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.